Welcome, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Tonight is Tuesday, January 20th. It's about a little bit after 7 o'clock. We have a planning zoning general meeting and public hearing tonight, and we're here in Town Hall in the auditorium. Let's just get started right away. The first item on the agenda is the general meeting. We're going to have a 2026 plan of conservation and development discussion updated by our consultant, Hardesty and Hanover, also known as H&H. Neil is going to present. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Welcome. So where do you want?
You can do whichever you're comfortable with, Neil.
I'd rather face you.
Yeah, I'd rather have you face us too. Versus
So I'll just stand up here so I can face you, and Malcolm will help me take notes.
If you want to just angle this podium towards us, we can.
Look at that.
That way you don't have to hold it. And be all-
You have a hard enough job as it is. It's trying to make it harder.
Okay, thank you. My name is Neil Desai, a principal planner at H&H, and with me is Malcolm Simpson, planner at H&H. And we had been going over previous chapters of the starting with chapters 1 and 2, some of the background chapters of the drafts of the POCD, and we'll start moving towards the substantive chapters in several weeks from now. But today, I think the purpose of the discussion today was to kind of just talk a little bit more broadly about some of the materials and recommendations we actually received. As you know, we met with just about all the boards and committees in the town that were related, have some connection to the POCD, and those were really helpful for us in the very kind of beginning of the process to get a sense of what's going on in Darien and Architecture Review Board. We met with the RTM Public Works Committee, so on and so forth. But we received a lot of recommendations from these committees at the meetings, and then after we had the meetings, they sent recommendations to us, and they involved all different topics within Darien. But I wanted to focus on some of the meetings that were more specifically addressed recommendations on development, housing, zoning topics, and their potential. I think they certainly sent them to us as with interest of, please, these are things we have in mind for consideration for the POCD. Of course, in the POCD, we don't actually develop the actual zoning, but we would make a recommendation for certain types of zoning changes and design guideline changes among, at least in the land use section of the POCD. And so I think I think out of the many meetings we had, I picked up for today the Architectural Review Board, which had a number of suggestions for process, land use, zoning, and the other two, the Darien Housing Authority, as well as the housing, neurodiverse housing in Darien is kind of a subset of the Darien housing, and not in terms of the agencies, but the topic of housing is obviously what the Housing Authority brings about, and they have certain thoughts about future for housing for Darien and what they would like to do, and kind of I included the summary of the recommendations from the neurodiverse housing to kind of be another part of the thought discussion of housing. So I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'll stop there. And I think if you all have the packets in front of you, I think really I wanted to turn attention to some of the Architectural Review Board recommendations first, as that's kind of first in the packet in terms of the meeting summaries. And I think it's a lot of recommendations, and I guess I wanted to, all these recommendations here, these are just presented as this is what folks gave us, and we want to get kind of a preliminary thoughts or reactions about some of these recommendations.
When you use the word recommendation, is it a recommendation to put it into the plan, or is it a recommendation to build it?
It's,
Two different things.
they, you know, the whole charge of us was, the meeting with them was to say, hey, listen, we're working on the next POCD. And so when we met with them, like I said, they already came prepared with recommendations. And that means recommendations to consider for the POCD.
So it's a recommendation to put it in there.
To put it in the COD or consider it for the POCD. Those are the kind of the types of things we received. And so, yeah.
Because I
that
can
was
put a recommendation in that's going to bridge, a walking bridge over I-95, put it in there, we never get done.
That's right. There's a number of recommendations like that that are from 2016 that, you know, that are, you know, they're very aspirational, but as far as, you know, have they gotten done? No.
So it's a topic to include.
Yeah, it's a topic to include, yeah.
Okay. The word recommendation sounds like, you know, he wants to do it right away.
No.
Okay. So in terms of your outline summaries you gave, is there something you want us to look at or you want to walk through?
Well, I wanted to walk through, so if you go to page 2, which is the first section of the architectural review board's recommendations,
Yep.
I think what I, you know, kind of the gist of this, it seems like, and, you know, whether this is ARB or P and Z, I think they're making recommendations that are things that, you know, are within the scope of ARB and certain things that are more P and Z. I think the gist of what I see here is that, you know, the current tools in place, whether this may apply to the P and Z or the architecture review board in terms of their review, but somehow I think that the commercial design guidelines, which they would like to update, doesn't factor in. It's kind of looking at the existing historic downtown buildings and how those could be treated, signage, that sort of thing, a little bit unformed. But when it comes to these newer developments that are happening now across other cities as well, besides Darien, they're different. They're wider, they're larger. You know, there's a lot more you know, a lot more building width were involved, and I think they seem to indicate that they want to have a little bit more control over that kind of volume and massing on
You want more power.
well, I think,
You got to remember,
Yeah.
they're advisory.
right, absolutely,
It's absolute advisory.
yeah.
I mean, most stuff gets done with their recommendations, but we're elected officials, and I don't think we necessarily need to give them more quote-unquote power,
Right.
so they can address stuff. I don't want to know, some of those things are in the charter, aren't they? I'm not changing the charter.
Their duties are outlined in the town charter. Planning and zoning's duties are outlined in the state statute.
Correct.
I would like to interestingly look at the historic district and future village districts, solar and commercial applications, protection allowance given under a state statute. I think that's one worth diving into.
I mean, it's another 10 years, so yes, we can do whatever we want. We had, I think, almost a half a meeting debate on the village districts last time.
Okay. In the
And
last POCD.
last POCD.
Yep.
Because New Canaan has them, and it is something that's in the state code. It is it's another level of architecture review for residential neighborhoods, where you're defining what people do about.
Yep.
And Bruce Hill was the person that spoke, who was a lawyer that used to do a lot of stuff. He was adamantly against it. But he articulated it because I thought it was great at it, and that he articulated the reason why. We can definitely debate it again.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
There's nothing to do, and
I mean, because a lot has changed in 10 years.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
And they have them in New Canaan, and it's another level, but New Canaan kind of sort of redid their whole zoning. And now I can't tell, not because I'm doing a big deal in New Canaan, I can't tell if they affected or not. So that's one aspect. The other is historic districts. The ARB has wanted for years to create an historic district two. One where Mansfield is and the ABC house and the church across the street.
Yep.
And the other is, what's the name of the cuts through street? That's got all the fancy houses on it?
Prospect?
Prospect, yeah, that's where Nancy Capital lives on.
Yeah, that's residential, but what about the commercial side of?
Right. So, I mean, I have no problem adding that to a list to debate and bring in experts to go over it, because it is something that's good.
So the village district and historic districts are two concepts to consider.
And they exist today in the state.
Right, right. It's not applied yet in Darien and everything,
So
right?
what you would have to do is find out what towns they're in
Right,
and how they have
What
it.
protections they provide,
right.
what restrictions they provide, and is that consistent with, is that a lever and a tool that we can use to shape the development or the manner of the development in the town?
I mean, I think a great village district would be everything west of, is it west? East of, like 800 Post Road or Sedgwick, all those little two-story houses that are way out there that you can't really knock down. I mean, that to me is
But
historic.
also, the building that's right at the train station, Rico's and that block
Yep,
and
yep.
through there. And,
Yep.
yep,
Yeah, so,
and that strip too. Okay, all right.
How is updating the commercial design guidelines, how have you handled that in the past as the newest member?
they update them every now and again, and they updated like the bushes guidelines or landscaping guidelines. Something about you put three of the same species together, you don't put them together in different pictures and things like that. But I think what you have to do is you have to bring in the experts on like the botanists and the Babcocks of the world and the other people that, work in that field and to testify to it.
As mayor, he drew up the commercial design guidelines, about 10 years ago, plus or minus. They made a minor change or two, but as towns see more different types of development, maybe there's things they want to include now that they didn't have before, or be clearer on certain things, so certainly.
But it wouldn't have to be in this document for them to be updated in the future,
That's true. It wouldn't have to be in the document, but
okay,
it's something that they're thinking, you know what, probably time to relook at
to
the
have more of
guidelines.
a,
What's interesting about the commercial design guidelines, it does include a lot of examples of what's in town. So, being that there's been a lot of commercial redevelopment, it may be an opportunity for them to take, hey, here's a picture of a three-story building with a...
We have a new defined character now.
Right.
We have a new defined character.
I would also mention in my meetings with some of the development groups in town, I heard that as another suggestion, was that possibly updating those guidelines would be a good idea. I mean, that, we're 10 years old, we have different priorities, we've learned a lot, and that it might be a good opportunity to take stock of the development in town and look at, out of what's been built, what we like, what we don't.
Yeah, I think that's worthwhile,
This
sure.
would be a good moment in time to
I think
reflect
so.
on
Yep.
what changes we like, what changes we don't.
Could you please talk to the mic? There's a freestanding mic in the aisle you can use.
Oh, yeah.
And at the table, if you could bring your mic a little closer to yourself, that would really help. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that one can be yours. This one can be mine.
So that's Malcolm Simpson, planner at H&H, who just spoke.
I mean, maybe I'm thinking two steps ahead, but if we put something like this in the POCD, then it would be an action step in 2027. It's what we did. It's what we did in 2016. We said, we think we should redo like the zoning, the signage regulations, this, because we got letters of testimony from ARB and from the zoning board of appeals, and they said change these 7 items, and then after it closed, we changed, of the 7 items, we changed, I don't know, 5 of them or 6 of them, something like that. So it lands up being an action step in the back and forth. But I mean, to put stuff like this into the POCD, I think is fine. It's just how you take it later. I don't want to expressly put in here, yes, we're going to give ARB the rights for massing and changing number of
Right.
stories in a building. I
Right.
mean, if the Planning and Zoning Commission says you can build a 3-story building, we don't need A or B coming back and say, no, show me 2.
Yeah, that's definitely more of a reg, like
Yeah.
a zoning reg, rather than an aesthetic reg. I mean,
Right.
it obviously has implications and they cross over. You know, obviously, they reference Nantucket being a successful area, but, you know, you don't want to go that so far as to only have 6 paint colors that are approved in the town. Like, we're not proposing that. Anybody watching TV, we're not proposing that. So,
Hilton hits the same exact
yeah,
way.
yeah. So, okay.
Well, and let me just also comment, if ARB wants to have a list of acceptable and unacceptable materials in their commercial design guidelines, that's okay by me, but don't ask me to pass on what's acceptable and what's not acceptable materials. I don't think that's our realm.
Yeah, I mean, A6, the wood type A6, which is the plastic wood, did not exist 12 years ago.
Yeah,
And
okay,
it's
so
just
it
not-
evolves, and I don't know what that is, and that's beyond my
Right.
reason for being here.
You may know what it is, you may not know what it is,
Yeah.
but I don't think,
Yeah.
I mean,
So, as I say, if ARB wants to create their own guidelines, that's okay by me, but I can't adopt that for ourselves.
great, you're Planning and Zoning Commission. Yeah. Jamie, any comments or thoughts on that?
I mean, I agree with what everyone has said. Once anything has changed though with the design guidelines, it comes back to us, right?
Right.
Yep.
I mean, it comes out if they say, like, you know, we don't ever want clapboard on buildings anymore, or shiplap on buildings anymore.
Right.
And an architect's come in with shiplap, you know, that automatically make it a denial? I think not, you know?
Certainly makes it an uphill battle.
Makes it an uphill battle, but like David Chenevise, when he did Corbin District, which is going back 12 years ago, that thing got, those plans, 2 sets of plans got ripped up. Same with Heights Crossing, which is the Palmer site, 2 sets of plans on it, I think got ripped up, thrown in the garbage, so, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So what else?
Thanks, thanks, that's helpful. I think that gives us some kind of like guidance of you know.
I wouldn't shift, you know, you use a different word than I use, but I wouldn't shift the power from, you know, one entity to another.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to, you know, that's
We
not
could-
something in the POCD we'd want to recommend. That's,
Define
you know,
acceptable, unacceptable materials.
yeah. I mean, that's, well, unacceptable and acceptable would be, I think it's more, that would be something more in the realm of design guidance, like favored materials as opposed to not, I don't know, acceptable seems very prohibitive, but,
Yeah, so
you
it's
know.
unacceptable.
But, I mean, ultimately, I think, you know, as far as the level of the level of detail in a POCD, as you see from the 2016, is kind of very broad. So, you know, there would be a let's just say hypothetically, okay, update commercial design guidelines, and then we would maybe have a sentence or 2 to help explain some rationale why. And that's really, that would be it. I mean, that's kind of POCD level stuff. That's very POCD level, so.
Don't get too deep into the weeds.
Right, don't want to get too deep in the weeds. And in the second place, and this is starting, you know, this is getting into in our conversations with the Housing Authority, which is on page 30, and they, you know, I think this is the only place where we're really talking about housing in terms of well, the Housing Authority and their kind of thoughts about affordable housing and their kind of future aspirations. I think, you know, starting with number 4, townwide planning. That's you know, they want to take a bird's eye view of where affordable housing should be located. And again, this is all kind of part of the discussion of, you know, we have to bring in, you know, the passage of the housing legislation in the state, and that's all, you know, that's going to be, that's something which I'm going to be working with Fred and Jeremy on, in terms of like how does that fold into the POCD, in terms of you know, if there's broad recommendations in the POCD that would enable some of the requirements that the town would need to follow, but in terms of some of their points in here, I think townwide planning, I think, they'd like to do, they think it would be a good idea for someone in the town to do some sort of bird's eye view of where affordable housing could be located and what are the criteria. I think as far as in the future, the DHA says they would like to create another facility like the Heights, but I think the more interesting thing what they said, another interesting thing what they said is about how the affordable housing development does not need to be large scale. It can be in the form of kind of pocket projects. This is number 2 on the page, of smaller projects, cottage cluster housing, that sort of thing, which is the kind of thing you're seeing, not as housing authority projects, but towns, cities like Stamford, have started looking at allowing different types of housing. That's a larger scale. This is housing authority actions, and I think so. This is kind of just the general, kind of near, kind of the 5 to 10 year thinking that the DHA provided to us.
You have to look at, I know you're not a lawyer, but some of these things, I think there's legalities that you have issues to deal with.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Legalities? You talk
Oh,
about?
yeah.
Can't, how come 20 years is highlighted?
I think that should be, it's 40, right.
40.
Yeah, that's right, that's why I highlighted that, and there's a comment that says, I believe this is 40, the correct number, but,
Yeah.
because that's what came from, our meeting was 20, but I realize that's incorrect.
It's 40.
It's 40 years.
That's basically state requirement. That's a lot of to do bond funding.
Yeah.
Bond funding is usually 30 years.
Yeah.
But, again, putting it in certain spots, and I don't know what it means, on top of an existing building. You're going to put 3 affordable apartments on top of a building, just for kids?
That is right, that does look strange, that sentence there. I have to remember
That's okay.
the exact detail of what, there must have been
Because
some
of these-
division in that.
Some of these things also become policy issues,
Yeah,
because we create regulations
right,
and recommend, and, our POCD, which is a plan, but it's a policy recommendation to create new buildings or smaller buildings and new buildings. Mayors change, first selectmen change, and there's different ideas that come up.
right.
We have a cluster cottage building, but that's more special needs. So, you can definitely look at it, and the bird's eye view, we do a bird's eye view every 10 years of the affordable housing plan.
Yeah.
So you don't have to replicate it twice. We did it 2 years ago.
2022, yeah.
Dave Keating did it for us. He was the consultant.
You don't have to do them anymore in the state. It's eliminating the requirement.
Right.
All right.
Off-roading for cars.
Of course, the housing authority has kind of a unique niche in that they own these properties, they fund them, they're kind of in their own world, and while they would have to satisfy our zoning regs, they can kind of go do what they want to do, I would think, until they come to us with their plan, so.
Yeah. Well, they're bonding authority. That's what the housing authority can raise
They have
money.
that. Yeah, good. Still, they got to satisfy the zoning regs. So
Agreed.
anyway, I guess we put it in the POCD, but there's not much I don't think we need to rein them in or encourage them or one way or the other.
No.
Some of this sounded like things were kind of pressing, like a bunch of properties were about to come off of the deed restriction, but I think the difference between 20 and 40 was a significant pickup.
Yeah.
But there's still plenty of time for that.
Right. Well, I mean, in our quote-unquote lifetime, the deed restricted units, which are, I think there's 30 of them over at, for lack of a better word, Avalon,
Right.
they're going to
They're
expire.
coming off fairly
Yeah.
soon. But
But I've talked about it many, many times, but the idea of affordable housing is not, you're not supposed to be in affordable housing in perpetuity. You're supposed to move into an affordable housing thing, get your feet back underneath you, to the extent you have to, and then move into a bigger house. It's not, you want to stay there. I mean, I lived in Stuyvesant Town. There was a lady next door to me who was 1,000 years old, and she wasn't moving. But her rent was $80, mine was $2,000. That's not the reason, it's supposed to turn over.
I think we're going to be doing a lot of planning around the new housing bill too. 8002 is going to require
Right.
the town to do planning, which will not just be planning and zoning, will be
Right.
other bodies, so I think.
We do have to find spots to put that 4% twice. And there's one spot we were talking about that would be maybe good for it. I think it's only 2%. So it's not big enough. You know? There was one other thing in here. What I just saw was the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Yeah.
That's fine. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund is, you could utilize the monies that are in there to do a study. If you want to do like a $10,000 seed money or start plans or something like that, you can definitely go to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and say, we need 10 grand to do a zoning study or, a bulk study of a site that somebody designated. But someone has to apply for that. The Darien Housing Authority can definitely apply to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, say, we want 10 grand to do, a study of this neighborhood is we're thinking of buying it. I mean, they can buy stuff.
In the past, it's been used to help fund, money was used in the Heights of Darien about 10 years ago to help make the project pencil a little better. And I think that was generally the intention, and what's looked upon favorably is because it was all affordable housing, there's no land cost really, but you still need that, I'll call it a subsidy to make it work.
Right.
Right.
And that's what, that's been a successful formula in Darien in the past.
Okay.
You'd rather spend the money on a physical unit versus $50,000 for architecture and pretty pictures.
Yep.
That's what it's there for.
That fund is going to be peopled by independent people. I gather they need a chair at this point for
Right,
that.
yeah.
So they will have their own policy interests and how they want to spend the money and how they want to invest the money and whatnot. It may be something for the plan, though, for us to make a statement that, as there is now money there, which there wasn't 5 years ago,
Yeah, it's
that we ought to develop our own thought process about what we would want to put in there or not put in there. That does fall to us, I guess, in each project. And if we want to weigh in on what they do with that money, it's all something we might consider as part of the plan.
I think what the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board does, they review applications and they make recommendations. Then the selectmen.
Oh, yeah, they don't
selectmen-
generate a project.
No,
Okay.
no. So, like, Todd McClutchy and the McClutchy Group one time applied to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and said, can we have money out of that trust fund to put into the Royal? And the Affordable Housing Trust Fund people said, great idea. They went to the selectmen and said, can we do it? Yep. There was another application that I remember that they wanted to buy some house, and the trust fund said, no. You're not going to do it. But they have to have money to be put in there. But, yeah, I mean, that's fine. We'd rather we're the one that says, yes, put that money into the,
Yeah. And if at that point our hands are off it, so be it.
No,
But
there's,
if we have some influence,
we have,
to talk about it.
I think the chairman has a standing seat on that board. The chairman of
Oh, you
P&Z,
have,
yeah.
okay.
I've never gone to a meeting.
Not
but-
sure there's been one.
Susan Cameron went to one.
Okay.
But the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, chairman of the Board of Finance, I think the Housing Authority people, and then Social Services, and then I got to believe there's someone in the selectmen that's on it too.
Okay.
It's
So,
an RTM, planning, zoning, and
Yeah, I think there might be an at-large person.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of a newly developing thing that is probably worth our perspective on in the planning document, that we
Yep.
need to consider carefully what our relationship should be.
Okay.
I think our time is probably up, but last question is, we covered a little bit that of land use and housing. There was a lot of other topics covered in the other meetings, conservation. If you happen to, although I kind of quote unquote assigned you those kind of three pieces, those pieces of this, if you happen to look at some of the other things and had any comments or thoughts, please let us know.
Let's talk about the neurodiversity for a minute, too.
Sure. So,
That-
you had mentioned special needs, and that's a segue into neurodiversity. Did you have any thoughts on that specifically?
Well, I mean, I mean, I met the gentleman that put it before it, too. Seth's a great guy.
Yeah.
I know his daughter. But that is a subset, I think, of, and it's a little bit different. I don't want to get into the super specifics of it because I'm not perfect at it. I'm not that well versed. David Geneviese's project over on
Right.
Short Lane, right?
East
East Lane.
Lane.
East Lane is for intellectually impacted residents, right? We also have a thing called the Cottage that's over by the backside of Middlesex School, which is, I think that's privately funded. But this whole thing, you want to explain what your conversation was relative to this?
Yeah, sure. It was, well, again, it's, for me also, this is a new concept for me, but one of the reasons I put on there is just the awareness of this neurodiversity is increasing a lot, and that's something which I came across as well. And so I did speak with Seth as well, and he just talked about the concept, how he got into this. I think there was a report specific to Darien that he provided me that I looked through. I don't think it's published anywhere, but it's something which you can get from him. But he knew knows what a POCD is about, and so he really laid out in a very didactic manner a very strategic approach to how you would start to implementation strategies, how you would kind of bring about these things, and you could see it's pretty well thought and structured. Very specific, again, just like all the other recommendations, they're very specific, and the POCD would obviously have broader recommendations than the table you see here, which talks about zoning amendments, tax incentives, and all these different types of different incentives and regulatory changes. So
just thinking out loud, if we combine this neurodiversity housing, say you made it a fund, right? And that's something to look at later, and combine that with the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, right? You're putting money into something because there's bonuses and there's fees and lieu and whatnot.
right.
It's a similar concept. So put it under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Certainly. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It would be.
Because I mean, if someone's going to if they're not going to put the on-site units in there, like a 1 or 2 or something like that, and they're going to give you money, it depends on where you're going to spend the money. You're going to spend it on affordable housing or neurodiverse housing or, old folks housing or something.
That's
like
right. All different segments of
that. I mean,
the
next year we
population.
might have $2.5 million in that.
Yeah. Right.
So you can do one project, and you can do 3 projects.
Excellent. Thanks.
So did we create the cottage by some
No, that-
special zone or anything? Or
Private. I think that was privately funded. That was by
Well, I know,
the
but
guy Gold.
is there something we should institutionalize that we did as a special thing for those 2 buildings over there?
We definitely would have to look into it. That was well before my time. I think Yvonne Klein was the selectman at the time, so that's going back 16 years.
Is it that long? No.
I mean, Jamie was 10, Dave Campbell was 2, right?
Yeah, okay.
So it's,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah. Okay, well, it was a great idea.
it's
and
fantastic,
if
and it was
there are
never
other
been
places-
replicated. That's the problem. It was never replicated.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of things that we did once that was never done again. Like 333 West Avenue is a great project. We never did it again.
Yeah.
But the only issue with that, and I'm never saying we're chasing moratorium points, that's counted as one building.
Uh-huh.
It's not, like David Genovese is 12 units. That's one. But there's 8 people that live there.
Uh-huh, right.
And it's 8
No, I
apartments
got it.
because they have, it's like a common door or something like that. I don't, something about the door.
Okay. Well, my only point is, if we were to if it is helpful that we actually change the zoning regs to be sure that that's permitted, we should consider that.
Yeah.
For planning purposes, we could, talk to some of the, like, Evel, some of the agencies that are managing housing in
Yeah.
our community.
I mean, that's what he's
Yeah,
here for. If
see
we
what
want him
they're
to
doing.
research it and figure out how
There
other
you go.
towns do it. that's
Yeah,
what-
if there's demand for it. I'm sure if the staff learns that somebody has in mind something like that, you will facilitate it and bring it to us. But if it's helpful to have it actually in the regs, we ought to consider that.
Yeah. Okay. Be onsite, offsite, or affordable neurodiversity. Something like that. Do whatever you want.
We'll talk to Gail about
Yeah.
concepts and ideas.
Okay.
We can get into the detail. And again, the last thing is, well, I'll say also for people watching at home or here, it's the meeting summaries that the P&Z Commission has is on the website, darionpocd.com, under the work products page. But just back to my, thank you for that thoughts on the neurodiverse housing. And I think, was there somebody who had, I asked if there's any other sections that I hadn't quote-unquote assigned that you had looked at and had any comments on or wanted to bring up?
Yeah, no, as long as we're going to, see this in a different frame, you're going to present it as text for the
Yes.
plan, and it'll
Yeah.
refer to we will consider and they will consider, whatever. I
Yeah.
think we can work with that kind of language.
Okay,
Sounds good to me.
great. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it
Jamie,
for
you good?
now.
Jamie, you're good.
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank
you,
you.
Neil.
Thanks.
Thank you for the
45 minutes, right on
comprehensive
time.
summary.
Good to go.
Well, we started a little bit.
Yeah, well, we're still, it's 45 minutes. Was it my fault we started late?
Are you taking off?
I was here early. There we go. All right, we're going to break from the general meeting now and go into the public hearing.
Thank you.
So our first item in the public hearing is continuation of public hearing regarding business site plan application number 54B as a boy, special permit, also known as PL 25-143, Standard Realty LLC at 805 Boston Post Road. Proposal to raise the existing gas station and associated service buildings and redevelop the property with a motor vehicle service station with 6 self-serve fueling positions and associated 2,800 plus or minus square foot convenience store and on-site parking. The 0.43 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the northwestern corner formed by the intersection of Boston Post Road and Sedgwick Avenue, and is shown on Assessor's map number 16 as lots 4 and 5 in the Central Business District CBD zone. The public hearing opened on October 28th, 2025. Fred's here. Fantastic. Fred, what do we got, sir? Give us an update, please.
Yeah, so the commission most recently continued the public hearing on this matter to allow the applicant to go back before the Legal Traffic Authority. They did meet again for a second time. The applicant met with the LTA on January 15th, and LTA issued a letter for the record dated today, the 15th, actually the 20th, today's the 20th. LTA did raise a number of remaining concerns regarding the proposal, regarding signal timing, levels of service and capacity analysis, as well as the turning movements out of the site onto the Post Road and Sedgwick Avenue as well. I will note that the applicant did provide a supplemental traffic analysis in response to comments by the Commission's peer review engineer, Greg Del Rio of Hardesty in Hanover, who, by the way, is here this evening to provide the Commission with some additional context relative to LTA's letter and remaining concerns of the Commission and the LTA relative to a number of issues.
But don't you want to go back to the December 16th letter, which is with the applicant?
Yeah, so the December 16th letter, which is in response to Greg Del Rio's most recent comments, addressed a number of, responded to each of Greg's initial or comments on the application, and that was supplemented with an additional capacity analysis in response to Greg's comments. And in speaking with Greg earlier today, I understand that there may be a technical correction that is required of the LTA letter relative to the capacity analysis and levels of service at the intersection of Sedgwick and the Post Road, taking that level of service F down to an E. The applicant also submitted a revised site plan dated September 10th, which was also circulated to the commission and uploaded as part of the application. That revised site plan was in response to initial discussions of the applicant with the Connecticut Department of Transportation relative to their needed encroachment permit. So as part of that revised site plan, the curb cuts onto the Post Road were reduced in width.
Why don't you let them explain it first?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so who's going to represent the applicant?
So we have the applicant's representative here this evening, Michael Cacase. He will summarize some of these changes, and then, as I said, Greg Del Rio is here as well to provide additional context to the commission.
Thank you. Fantastic.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Mike Cacase. I'm the attorney for the applicant this evening, and I can tell you that we have been working with the staff and a number of other agencies to move this application along. Since we've last met, we did get an extension from the Zoning Board of Appeals on the approval, which was to have expired at the end of this month, and they've given us an extension. And for the record, we'd note again that the ZBA approved variances for this site plan. Number two, I just would like to repeat that all of the issues raised from an engineering standpoint have been addressed, and the outstanding issue that we were left with was to meet again with LTA and get a new letter of opinion from them. Given the holidays and other things that took place last week when both of our expert and the peer review people appeared before them, and they have issued their letter, which we received this afternoon and have reviewed. And I will tell you that although both our traffic expert and the peer review expert indicated that they would recommend a 6-month trial basis for the ingress and egress shown from the Post Road, the LTA has recommended that there be a dedicated entryway and exitway to ensure, as they put it, the orderly flow of traffic. And although we felt comfortable with our original recommendation, we're here to tell you this evening that we're willing to accept their recommendation to have one ingress and one egress and to properly sign those ingress and egress portions, so that we would recommend, and the way we read the letter, was to have the two curb cuts that are shown on the post road, with the one on the easterly side of the project being the ingress and the one on the westerly side as the egress. The westerly side would have clear signage which would indicate that it is an exit only and a right turn only. On the other side, there'd be signage that indicated that it is an entrance only, and the flip side of that sign would indicate that it is not an exit. We believe that is what's being recommended by LTA, and we're prepared to accept that as a formal condition on your approval, and we expect that all the other matters have been addressed, and would encourage you to recommend or make a motion to approve the application as submitted with that condition.
Well, we're going to close the hearing. The object is to close the hearing first. We're not going to make any recommendations whether to approve or deny or adjust or any of that stuff. That's for another day. But I don't mean to interrupt, but I already interrupted. I thought it was the other way around. So why don't we have someone explain to us what changed on this one, because it was revised? And when were you guys last here? I'm just trying to figure out the dates on it. When were they last year? Was it before Thanksgiving? I believe it was November. It was November?
Yeah, we were here in
So all of a
October
sudden-
and November.
So then these two letters, or the November, these have never been done in public. Okay. So we have the Hardesty Henel letter, which is, you keep saying Greg Del Rio, but he's here, the author Stephen Capoli, and then the response from your guy on the 16th. Then we have a new site plan. So why doesn't someone tell us what changed on the site plan between when it was here last on September 15th to today? And then it
Sure.
sounds like you want to change it again. And instead of saying east and west, because this is a catty corner site, let's say this one is enter and that one's exit. So you can tell us, because the orientation of southwestern corner, I can't figure that out either, and I've been doing this stuff for a long time.
All right, so good evening. James DeMeo, professional engineer for the applicant. So basically what we got, it was nothing formal, just with some preliminary discussions with DOT. A couple of things that they wanted us to add were the additional line striping on Sedgwick as it is currently installed.
Just point to it.
So along Sedgwick, the existing turn lane and everything else that the town had completed, they wanted to see that on the updated plan. They wanted even though we had the existing curb cuts, because we needed the encroachment permit for the brick inlay, they wanted us to reduce our apron widths to 30 feet. And then the only other things that they wanted were on just some dimensioning of the line striping within the right-of-way. So that's really all that's changed to current site plan. The dispensers, the building, nothing else has changed. The only real thing is, in order to get the 30-foot width, basically choke this down right here. This used to come out straight, and then this island actually came away from the intersection a little bit also to choke it down. And stop signs and stop bars were added.
Describe to me the flow of traffic coming in, coming out.
Yep.
Navigating on site.
So
Let me just hold it 1 second. Thank you. So both of these entrances went from something down to 30.
correct. So this one was 32. This one was actually almost 40.
Okay.
So we brought them down to the DOT required 30 foot.
The state DOT made you do that.
Correct.
Okay.
That's something that, the allowable, the max allowable width.
Then on that plan, where is the entrance to Starbucks?
It's over here.
And what's the distance between the entrance to Starbucks and the end of your property?
I can look into that before we leave and get you an answer. I just don't know it off the top of my head.
Is it a foot and a half, or is it,
No, it's I think it's about 30 feet.
it's a car length?
Yeah, because there's cars that are parked this way here. So, and then there's the entrance and exit.
Okay.
So it's at least, 18,
Okay.
20 feet.
Okay, so what you did is you shrunk down the two entrances and you put in stop bars.
Correct.
And what'd you do on Sedgwick? You just depicted the lines on here?
Correct. I just depicted the lines as they are currently done today, yes.
Okay, and
So-
maybe I apologize.
Yeah, so there really wasn't much done on the site plan as per that, since the last time you saw it. Everything else pretty much remained the exact same.
Okay, now, the other thing that I had in my notes is the southwest corner where this tractor, you're gonna fill the tanks, where are those on your plan? Where's the tank fill?
So the
Yeah, keep that.
the tanks are going to be here.
So the tank, that's where they are today, because those
Correct.
pipes, those vent pipes are still sitting there. You can
Correct,
see.
yeah. So they're going to go back in the same spot,
All right, so the fill points,
or remain the
are
same.
there two of them or three of them? How many do you have?
Three?
Yeah,
Yeah,
fill the
three.
tanks.
Sorry, I thought you
I
meant
mean,
zero.
I go to this,
Three.
I go to the Sitco on Hope Street, and when I go there at night, the tractor trailers, they're filling up the tank and blocks all the pumps.
Right, yeah, so again, part of our,
Because that's one of the questions, because you're not on your plan, that says, there was something I read that said you'd taken an island or two out of service.
we're only going to be refilling during off-business hours at night. So not worried about it taking up, or being in the way of one of the fill stations.
Okay. So can you point to where they are, or do you have any idea where they are?
They're in here. So the tanks are going to be right here. So as the tractor trailer comes around, it's going to stop here before it exits, fills, and then leave.
And then you're getting rid of which pump spot?
So,
Coning off a pump spot.
well, again, it's not happening during business hours. So they're really not going to need to cone it off.
That's what the letter says.
So then it would just be spot 11. So this is the only one that needs to be blocked as it fills.
Okay. So this one. Okay, and with that still said, do we know when we're filling these tanks? How many times a week, how many times a day, what days?
Probably gonna be 2 times a week, 3 times a week max.
Okay,
And it's gonna be, we're talking 9 to 5 a.m.
okay.
9 p.m. to 5 a.m.
When we reviewed the 7-Eleven a bunch of years ago, we had it to the exact point. We knew how many days were, and the whole traffic study was based upon their tanks, and they're filling them up, and the whole thing was wrong.
So
Because they were supposed to have 3 million gallons in
Yeah,
there, so,
no. This is
and the tanks were like
Realistically-
25,000 gallons in the ground.
the old site pre-COVID did close to 70,000 gallons a month. This is only projected to be 100,000 gallons a month. So you're talking 1.2. This is not 3 million gallons.
That's what we're trying, that's what we're trying to, because it all relates to traffic. So everything has to tie together, because if you have 8 pumps, I gotta believe you do more gallonage at 8 pumps than you do at 4 pumps. Right? You would think.
You'd hope,
You
yeah.
ever been,
Six dispensers, not yeah.
right, but I'm just saying in general, you ever been to a Sheetz in Pennsylvania?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they do a
This
bazillion
is not
gallons.
going to be, yes.
Right, that's what I'm trying to
The
get
3
to.
dispensers is for the ease of use, customers, cars getting in and out.
Yep.
Around.
I apologize, you have to just say your name for the record and all that good stuff.
Mark Kraujik with Standard Petroleum.
Thank you. Okay. Right, so you're doing 100 gallons, 100,000 gallons a month, which is times 12. It's not a rocket science, it's 1.2 million gallons a year. And how big are these tanks?
These tanks are going to be, the regular tank is going to be 12,000 gallon capacity, and then the other 2 tanks are going to be split 75, 6 and 6, yeah. 6,000, 6,000.
Okay, so one's high test and one's regular?
No, one will be diesel.
Oh, okay. And where's the diesel pump?
There will be 2 of these dispensers here,
Oh, they had the-
here, will be a 3+1, so you'll be able to do gas and diesel.
Okay. Okay, all right. You had a question that I cut you up. I apologize.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the anticipated flows now, if you were to adopt the recommendations from the LTA.
Yep, so we'd like to keep Sedgwick open, but we're talking about making this the inn, so the curb cut that's the closest to the intersection would be the one where you'd be able to enter, and then the one furthest from the intersection would be the right-hand only out. We believe that's kind of the best compromise. DOT has historically been wanting to see 2 separate, but ultimately, it's gonna fall down to them. I know my view is, as long as we can, because DOT has the ultimate final say over the in and the out. If, I just want to make sure that we have a little bit of flexibility. If they decide we don't want the 2 and we want just the 1, that we'd also be able to continue to move forward is the.
What, you said 2 versus 1.
So there's 2 ways, and we were talking about this before the meeting tonight, and unfortunately, just with the short notice of the letter, it just coming in, it's hard to interpret exactly what the LTA meant in their letter for these entrances and exits. It could be interpreted 2 separate ways. One interpretation is that, we'll have an entrance and an exit. Each one will be individual, like you can't go in and out of both. Or the other interpretation is one curb cut with an entrance and a right-hand out in one location. So it depends upon their interpretation, on how you interpret their language. So either way, ultimately, it's going to come down to DOT's decision, and we're okay with either or if the commission is okay with granting that as a condition of approval, either configuration.
Because what historically has been done on the post road is to get rid of curb cuts. That's what's historically on curb. I read their letter too, and I kind of caught that, and I know they want 1 in, 1 out.
Correct.
Your lawyer said this 6-month trial period, that's the first time I ever heard of this 6-month trial period.
Well, the 6-month trial period was brought up by H&H and us in the last time we were in front of the commission.
Right, so it's not on a piece of paper, that's somebody's.
Yeah. I don't know if it was actually in Hardesty and Hanover's.
In the first letter from the police commission, one of their recommendations, there was a couple, but one of them was to leave it open for that. They were the first ones to actually recommend that 6-month period where we leave it open. If there's an issue, we allow them to make a change.
Okay.
So it's like one of the last lines in that letter.
Okay,
So
I don't remember, but that's okay.
It's also in the letter today from the police commission, the paragraph right above their recommendation where it says H&H stated that the town of Darien should take a wait-and-see approach and monitor the situation without restrictions.
Right, but you specifically said 6 months.
That's what was discussed with them and both of the consultants that have opined. And the LTA disagreed.
Correct. Yeah. I just never heard of I didn't know where the 6 months came from. That's fine, that's fine. So they don't want the wait and see. All right, so from where you sit, what's better? 1, get rid of a curb cut and make it an exit entrance, or having 1 in, 1 out?
I think it's better to have the 2 separate, so making this one just an in and this one an out. And historically, I've seen DOT favor that. Like, yes, they're trying to get rid of curb cuts, but when they restrict them in terms of, which direction, like only in or only out, I found, or I've been noticing a pattern that's what they've been going more towards. I had a similar gas station in another municipality that was right next to an intersection as well, and that's what they did. They forced the 2 to be a 1 in and a 1 out.
So with that said, you want the one that's closest to the traffic light to be an entrance,
Correct.
and the one that's furthest from the traffic light next to Starbucks be an exit?
And that would be our preference.
Okay.
But again, ultimately, DOT is going to dictate what they will accept in their right-of-way.
Right,
And then we're
bring
going
it,
to,
ask Ken.
yeah.
What he said.
If I may, could I just inquire, that other property you just referred to, did it have any ingress and egress similar to ours at Sedgwick?
The other one, no. The other one, no, it did not.
It only, it's not on a corner? It's mid-block?
There was a small residential property right here, actually. So they didn't have access through there.
So it's mid-block? It didn't have two?
Yeah, it was just, yeah.
Because
50
we've
feet.
talked about this many times. I've never seen a gas convenience store that's not on the corner. And so this one is on the corner.
Yeah.
Which is what we kind of want. So that's the exit entrance. They were saying, okay, we'll do what DOT said. And I think the Legal Traffic Authority, which is the same thing we did at Trader Joe's, we did it at Bank of America. It's also, I think, at Brooks Brothers, and it's also at Fairfield County Bank, where there's a physical barrier to make you go right and you can't go left.
Yeah. So what DOT is going to ultimately require of us is that triangular, directional, and/or putting a radius on the curb line at that point to force the drivers to take the left, as well as the signs and everything else. Or the right. Sorry, the right.
So you're fine with that?
Again, we're going to comply with
trying to get you
whatever
to approve.
DOT.
I'm trying to.
So essentially, the DOT's,
You're denying.
yeah, the DOT is going to govern that, and we're going to comply with exactly how they want us to restrict it. So if they come in and say, we want signage and we want a triangular island, we're going to do that. If they say, okay, we're okay with you radiusing it, the driveway apron, we're going to do that. We're going to comply with their requirements, because again, it is in the state right away.
Right. So have you been to Trader Joe's in town?
Not Darien, no.
Okay. You know what island I'm talking about? Yes, sir. Yeah. That thing's raised. What is that? Is that a triangle or is it a radius?
They have the radius.
Yeah.
Definitely going out,
Yeah.
it's the radius going out.
But if
My
you
major
try to cut the
concern-
left, you go and
Oh,
you
yeah.
car
My
bomb.
major concern, and I spoke with James earlier, was the tractor trailer leaving, and it absolutely will be able to leave the property going right.
Yeah, it's just going to end up with, so,
And you promise it's not going to get stuck under the bridge trying to get it down. To the
no, so
the dude goes right and gets stuck under the bridge,
I'm more,
and you start leaking gas all over the place?
So right before I was able to come, I was able to run the turning movement to go the other way really quickly. And it will make it, I mean, the back tires of the trailer hop on this curb, or the brick inlay, but it will make this turn out. So I may have to reconfigure this brick inlay with DOT, but that's really it. It'll work.
Without going into opposing traffic?
Correct. Without going into opposing traffic and everything else. It literally, it stays within this brick inlay right here. So, or the new brick inlay.
Wouldn't egress on Sedgwick make more sense for such a truck?
It's coming in,
Yeah, the problem is getting it in and then out. So, if we have an entrance only here, so whether they're coming this way or they're coming in this way, to then get out on Sedgwick, they're essentially doing a full 180, and that's going to be very problematic for that tractor trailer. Plus, they will take up this entire intersection, and it just won't flow nicely at all. So, realistically, the best movement for the tractor trailers are to come up Sedgwick into the property, and then they can come out without any problems.
And how big are your tractor trailers that have fuel? Because I remember some of them had two different sizes.
Yeah, so they're the WB50, so they got 50-foot long trailers. So,
And that's what you expected too?
mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
widening or shrinking the other curb cut on Sedgwick, does that do anything for you? Does that help you at all? I mean, to me, I would say widen it going further up the hill.
We actually don't need to widen it. So right now, we're proposing to keep that curb cut the exact same.
Because if I'm going to your gas station, I'm coming down, I call it coming down the hill.
Yep.
I can turn into your gas station faster
Yes.
if the curb cut's shorter. But I also can buy my Coke inside and bolt out the other exit and blow up that traffic light.
The problem with having it go further up is now we're going into our parking, or our no parking and loading zone area. So we actually don't even want it to go further up because that's where we're utilizing for our parking aisle and the loading area.
What are those things in there? Those two things in the parking spot?
So those are electric manholes that are currently there also right now.
Okay. And do we know the size of the two buildings that are there today, combined square footage?
One is 20, the main building is 2,800.
No, of the existing today?
Correct.
The main building is 2,850, something like that. And the other one is 1,020. Thank you, sir. That was good.
So we're going from 3,820 down to 2,800.
Correct.
Okay. And we're going from 4 pumps, 1, 2, to 6 pumps.
Technically, there's 6 fueling stations currently.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 there currently today?
There is currently today, yes. If you drove by, there is
Well, is there 8?
2 gasoline dispensers and then 1 diesel dispenser. There's 3 dispensers on that.
So you're going from 6 filling stations to 6 filling stations?
Correct.
So we're not adding a filling station?
I'm sorry.
We're not adding a filling spot?
No.
No.
Okay. So 6, 2, 6. Okay. Commissioners, you have any questions? Please.
The LTA letter says the study fails to account for any compounded delay, the traffic study, that will occur, between Sedgwick and Mansfield, with the crosswalk. So is that correct, or?
Are we going into traffic now?
Yeah, I want to ask Greg to speak next.
Okay, I thought they might want to
Just
address
site,
it.
I think he's just talking site, right? Site.
Yeah, we're trying to get this out of, and see what's, because I didn't know what changed,
Okay.
Yeah.
right? And now we kind of sort of know what changed, which is, and I think your entrance, one entrance in, one entrance out, I think that's a game changer.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. And we'll see what Greg Del Rio says relative to that, but, okay.
Question, you said the existing was 6 filling stations and proposed as 6, but I don't recall ever seeing more than 2 cars being able to queue and get fuel on the side of the existing pump. So even though they might have had 6 filling stations, my memory, if I'm correct, is really only 4. So I do think it's an increase in the actual filling station utilization, which would jive with your projections of 70,000 gallons a month to 100,000 gallons a month.
But that's a fact. Either there's 6 or there's 4.
And my memory might not be, serving me correctly, but I thought there was, realistically, only 2 cars could actually be on either side of those.
It would be tight. And I don't think it was ever busy enough to warrant.
For the record, Scott Hesketh, traffic consultant for the applicant. Correct, there are 6 fueling positions today. However, the pumps are in line and the vehicles pull up on either side, so it's difficult to get 6 vehicles to fuel at the same time. 4 is no problem, because you can have front to back and front to back, but you can't access the 2 in the middle when you're doing that. Or if you can access the one in the front and the one in the middle, then you can access the one in the back. Flipping them this way, we have maintained the same number of fueling positions, but they're much easier
You'll
access.
be able to get more traffic through it.
That's why in the traffic report, we went from a 4-pump to a 6-pump station in terms of the trip generation.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I guess that's here.
Yep.
So you're at doing two things.
There's no way any, more than 2 cars get on either side of where it is currently.
Is your little thing would be jammed in between two cars. Okay. George, any questions at this point?
No, not at this point, thank you.
Okay. Greg Del Rio, you up?
Or Mr. Hesketh.
After Greg had the last word.
Who's the peer reviewer?
Right, so Greg, you wrote a letter the 20th.
I don't even get to do an introduction.
Yeah, everybody.
Say hello, good evening,
Summer.
nice to see you, Happy New Year,
Keeps calling Steve
whatever else
you.
goes on. Greg Del Rio, for the record, professional engineer in the state of Connecticut, and we conducted the peer reviews from a traffic circulation standpoint for the project. So if you have some questions, I'll answer them first, and then I can go into some of my highlights.
So you wrote your letter on the 20th, and then the applicant's consultant, who just spoke a second, responded, and of the few items, there's quote-unquote no's.
So just for clarification, we had an original study, we had a comments, we had a second updated study that addressed those comments, then we had a third round of comments, which we have reviewed, and we're in concurrence with everything. We have not given an email or correspondence to you after that third peer review saying that we concur, we're okay with everything, they've addressed everything adequately. Part of the reason for that, or the reason for that, is this back and forth that's been going on with the curb cuts and the circulation and the LTA and DOT, and we went to one LTA meeting, which was 2 LTA meetings ago about this, and we have not been, we kept checking, they said, can you come, and then we were ultimately not invited. And we did not participate in any discussions directly with DOT as well. So we're hearing LTA and DOT more or less secondhand.
So you're seeing the letter from the LTA
Today.
from today, you're seeing that today?
Correct, correct. And so there's a few little nuances because of these gaps in communication and back and forth that have lost a little bit of, accuracy in some of the comments and interpretations of what's been happening.
Can you expand?
So a good example is in their letter today, it said, level of service F. So they did not see, I'm assuming, the last letter that they provided addressing potential mitigation, and a little bit of shift in the signal timings actually improves things back to existing conditions or even a little better.
Are you talking about this number 5?
I don't know the number, which one's 5? I mean, I do have it on my screen. Yeah, capacity.
Because he said that he did it, and in his opinion, it's minimal changes.
Yeah, but it goes back to a level of service. See, you're missing the summary table. I don't know why everybody's printout does not have, the PDF has 4 pages at the end of it including a summary table of what it shows is existing is an F. It shows a worse F in the, with the project. And then there's a third column that says with adjusted revised signal timing, and that puts it back to better, actually, than existing.
And you're talking Sedgwick, the Sedgwick block?
Yeah. There's no impacts on the driveways. There's only an impact at the signalized intersection. The entrances and exits to the driveways on all the driveways were A's and B's, I believe.
If I may, Steve.
Yep, sure, of course.
You indicated, so it'll take a little tweaking of the synchronization there. LTA or DOT, somebody suggests that's not so simple when you have the pedestrian crossing at Mansfield and Post Road, which is a 4-way stop when somebody's going across, and then it takes 3 cycles in order to get it back to routine, so you sure it's just a quick little twist to get that done?
All that exists today, so that's apples to apples, right? I can push the button today and cause that situation. The only difference is we're adding a little bit of traffic to the ins and outs from what was there before, and the analysis shows that little bit of a tweak. You know, the only thing I'll add to that, and you guys probably know this, is in DOT's jurisdiction, which this is, they typically will sit on it until they see something that needs to be changed, right? And then in a year or two from now, if there's, you know, this, whether it's caused by this, whether it's caused by growth, you know, someone will say, can you guys come out and take a look at this? We see something here that may be able to mitigate it a little bit. You know, it's a few seconds here and there.
So what you're going to want to extend the green for Sedgwick?
That's it, yeah. And that's the other thing to keep in mind, is that impact, and that F is on Sedgwick. It's not on Boston Post Road. Boston Post Road maintains the level of service without any mitigation. And when you do that little shifting of the signal timing, it still maintains acceptable on Boston Post Road.
And when you were talking about the difficulty of communication, maybe this line in their letter, the LTA letter that says, to establish a dedicated entry-exit to ensure the orderly flow of traffic might be the source of some
That's another example.
quandary, because where are they talking about?
Yeah, that's another example. So, you know, again, and I wanted to highlight this because they actually said that we, you know, felt differently. That was part of my concern at that time, was they were talking about closing off Sedgwick entrance.
Who was, the LTA?
Everybody, LTA, yeah, LTA,
Not us.
right? My understanding, again, this is why it's everybody's, you know, this is very murky, right? There's no documentation anywhere. There's nobody that said, this is what we said. There's not a plan that's marked up.
I don't really care.
Right.
Right? I care what the final result is. I don't care if it's murky.
Right, but I'm just saying, you have a letter?
It doesn't matter.
Steve, I have to correct 2 things in that letter that are inaccurate, all right?
Which
And
is-
one of them has my name in front of it, which is not accurate. It was a misinterpretation, because at the time, I thought there was a closed driveway on Sedgwick, plus restricting the in and out. I felt that was excessive. And you guys all know, we've all driven a gas station, right? If I can't make a right and a left, you're not used to that, coming off the pumps. What do? Most people look around and say, which is my best way out of here?
The gas station I go to is entrance only.
Well, how many
It's
curb
exit
cut?
only.
Right.
And I go there all the time.
But you were interrupted on the, where are we talking about as to the,
So anyway, those were just the
In
2
and out.
clarifications I wanted to make, and they're kind of, like Steve is saying, they're insignificant at this point.
so
I
you're
think
clear-
now we need clarification from the LTA on the issue that was brought up on, you know, what exactly do they mean?
So where
by
is the
that.
dedicated entry-exit to ensure orderly flow?
So I agree that if you're going to do a 1 in and 1 out, the 1 in should be the one to the north closer to Sedgwick, and the exit should be the one closer to Starbucks.
Is
But
that what they mean by-
you have to leave Sedgwick open, otherwise a truck can't get in and out.
Right.
Now, this leads me to another point that I think everyone's missing. That truck has to make a left getting out of there.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It has to make a left, has to go north on, it does, otherwise he's not going to be able to make it. He's not going to be able to make it. So that now conflicts with the channelized right turn.
Yep.
All right, I have another project in New York that this happened to, and they had to get rid of the island because nobody caught it.
Yep. I was thinking the same thing.
So it could be a mountable curb, but it can't be a hard curb.
Meaning if you had to force them to go right.
Yeah.
So everyone, all the pedestrians, or the lay people are going to go right, and the truck's going to go left?
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
truck's going to go to exit 13 versus...
Yeah, that's fine. They can come in from the south, but I don't even know if they can do that with the clearances. The clearances allow it on the, I haven't looked into that. but I guess all trucks do, so the clearance should be there on the tracks. Right, they're gonna come from the north, to and from the north. So it's not
No, the
it's not an
question-
issue.
They're getting off exit 13. They're getting off exit 13 from Bridgeport, go into the project, and then when they leave the project, they're going back to Bridgeport, or they're going to Greenwich.
Even if they are, they're gonna hop on 95 and jump down.
You have to come up to Pony
Yeah.
stairs.
You'd have to, your remarks have to either be at one of the microphones, please.
Yeah, they'll absolutely be going back up north after making the delivery.
Or would they go over to Norotan Avenue?
No, because the truck will be empty once it leaves the station. We don't make partial deliveries.
Oh, no.
Everything is full.
You get a full truck and you empty the whole truck and you...
Every single time.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Realistically, do you ever see an operational efficiency where you could have your deliveries scheduled? I know they're off hours, but like really off hours, like the wee small hours of like, how do you?
So personally, I schedule the deliveries.
Okay.
I schedule every single one of them. Anything coming down this 95 corridor, I make it set where it's like midnight. That's what I'm aiming for. Drivers don't want to come down here at any parts of traffic. It just completely ruins their day. So everything is nighttime. It is not during operating hours. And we do that for 1927 Post Road. I do that for Chicane Avenue in Stanford. I do that for 164 Norotan Avenue. Actually has a little bit more room for those tanks. So, but I will still push as late or as early as possible at both of those, the Gulf and the Shell station. So all of those stations are the same way.
And what's the hours of the store supposed to be?
The store is going to close at 9 p.m.
So it's like 5 to 9 or something?
Yeah.
5 a.m.? Okay.
And how large of trucks do you envision making deliveries for the convenience store on the right there?
Nothing will be bigger than that truck. Pepsi has that size tractor, and then every Coca-Cola smaller, Red Bull smaller, all of the other delivery trucks are smaller. All of those are one deliveries a week, and they're not. That's what the loading zone is for.
So what time do you want to put down the delivery trucks for, if we put in the resolution? Like Sunday at night?
My name is Nadim Khalid.
Okay, just see if we go to the microphone. Thank you.
Any of these deliveries, we specify to the vendors what the authorized truck will be come in. So that will be written and that will be repeated every single time. If they don't have that specific truck, they will haul it like a 10-foot van, but they do not increase the truck. This is period, and that's how the instructions to that, all the Coke, all the vendors are.
No, I was talking about the fueling.
Fueling is almost, they have like about 45 to 50-foot truck, trailer truck.
But what time of the day?
That is they will be strictly been instructed to them to any time between 12 and 3. They will be not delivered in the daytime. The state-of-the-art new monitoring system, it is all communicating with that hauler, that right now that truck is loading up, it cannot haul more than 8,500 gallon product. Those old days are gone, 10,000 and 12,000, because DP strict that rule that 8,500 is maximum delivery, hauler can have it, number one. Number two, the person who's sitting on the filling point, she can literally monitor the direction of the tank, how much product is there, so they cannot exceed, they cannot reduce. If they have some conflict, usually they have a 3-compartment, they have a regular, they have a super, they just break down, but it should not be any.
Is it, you said 12 to 3, so is that midnight to 3 o'clock in the morning?
That's correct.
So the store closes at 9 p.m.
Right.
And then the trucks would come at midnight, between midnight and 3 a.m.
Yeah, maybe half hour plus minus, but it's not like because they are watching, trust me, Even we call for the delivery or not call for delivery, they are literally watching, and they make sure that they are in that terminal where they load up all the trucks. Bridgeport, that's correct.
Hang on.
Yep.
I schedule all the loads.
No, I get it,
And
I get it.
Coastal carriers out of Ansonia hauls for us.
I get
And
it.
I schedule days in advance of all of our loads. So
That's
that's
fine.
not, and they have all access to the TLSs, and they know what's in those tanks prior to filling.
100%, I get it. I'm just trying to make sure that if this truck is making a left, and it's allowed to make a left, you know.
It's, yeah, yes, absolutely.
There's not, you can pull up the carpets in Darien at 2 a.m., there's nobody around.
Correct.
I've been out at 2 a.m., there's not a lot of people.
Yes.
But stuff like that, in this application, stuff like that, those specifics like that matter. Okay?
Speaking of which, can I go back to Greg for one more second follow-up? All right. So Greg, as I understand it, we'll have an egress and ingress only on the post road, which is on the east side, and an egress only on the west side. So do you think the LTA was talking about Sedgwick Road as the dedicated entry-exit?
No.
No. I definitely think it could be possible that they're talking about Boston Post Road. I don't think they're talking about, I didn't hear any concerns on Sedgwick from the LTA.
So what do you suppose would satisfy them as to a dedicated egress?
The way you just described it, I think, would
okay.
satisfy them.
Okay.
I'm hoping that that's the interpretation. I think everybody's hoping
Okay.
that that's the interpretation. I know there was an example of a single entry exit. My guess is that's a deep property that has a throat to allow the organization in and out before you spread out into the pumps. We don't have, did you follow what I just said? So we don't have that luxury. We don't have a throat to line up on your entry and exit where one entry exit might make sense, right? Now you enter and you're like, boom, you're right on top of you're 20 feet away from the pumps.
How do you think the designated, we talked a lot about trucks, but cars coming immediately through that intersection and then having to make that right, or, you know, you're making the left in, I guess you would go straight and then left in Sedgwick if you were
Either
coming
way.
from that way. Do you envision any significant change with regards to abruption on traffic flows that might increase crash data for that?
No, I think, yeah, no, I think you're, as far as that goes and those considerations go,
And I recognize that you got a letter a couple hours ago, and you're trying to interpret what traffic flows might or might not be based on some new ideas.
Yeah.
I recognize that that's not
Yeah.
the way you want to
Right.
present your data.
Yeah.
I recognize that.
Yeah, yep. This is going to trigger another round with DOT. They're going to have to put signage now restricting those turns on the plans. I mean, they have to revisit DOT anyway, but, right?
Now, relative to DOT, was DOT involved that significantly with Trader Joe's? Because we made the guy from Equity Re go up there, and he said he couldn't get DOT's approval, and I said, your Equity Re, go get it, and he got it in 2 days.
I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but I do know that DOT took a close look, especially what Greg mentioned is relative to any new signage on the post road. In Trader Joe's case, they have a sign across the street, so when you're looking, they'll have a sign right there, but there's also one across the street that says new left turn. It's probably what might happen here. It might be a requirement across the street to have a no left turn out of here. They might have they'll definitely have a sign right at the curb cut, no left turn, right turn only. So DOT will not hesitate with required signage. And details, just what Mr. Hesketh mentioned on what type of curb, how high the curb will be, what kind of pavement, exactly how wide that, how to stripe it on the way out, painted pavement. Did I miss anything? They will get.
And then some.
How long is it going to take you to submit it to us?
Well, all right, so I'll be able to make the revisions and submit it to the town very quickly, like probably this week. But circling back on the conversation about DOT, we just started, we had preliminary conversations with them. They've given us like preliminary comments, and they typically don't like to do the full review until we have local approval. So, correct, it's that chicken and egg that every town hates. So basically, yeah, we've just gotten their preliminary comments, and like, that was the reason for all the changes, was just, that was what they said to us so far. But again, we're going to comply with their sign requirements, their striping, whatever else they essentially mandate in the right of way.
And Greg, you're okay with this one in, one out?
Yeah, especially if Sedgwick is open. I was a little more concerned. I was okay with it either way.
Yeah, I know you were, but that didn't fly.
I mean, it was a recommendation to, leave it as all movements and see what happens. I'm just as, okay with doing what they're proposing and seeing if it works.
Yeah. And
if there's no issues, you're great.
And to circle back on the reasoning for why we're in closest to the intersection out, that's typically the safest movement, because if vehicles are traveling along the road, to have a vehicle exit is safer than a vehicle trying to exit close to the intersection.
Yep.
It ends up becoming more problematic. So again, we're trying to keep that in mind as well. And that's what we're going to push for with DOT is that configuration.
That's what started this whole thing.
So do you want to get a preliminary look-see from DOT and have them sign off on it and then go to the LTA?
They won't sign off until we get through you. Until we have a conditional approval from Planning and Zoning Commission, DOT is not going to give us a approval. Yeah. Again, the conditional comments or the preliminary comments we got was really a courtesy, and it wasn't even formal. Like, it was.
I get it.
Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to see if we can get the legal traffic authority to sign off on this new idea.
I don't think that there's going to be a way to do that.
Aren't we?
The Department of Transportation will reach out to the LTA to talk to them during the review process. So if the DOT says to them, hey, we got this plan in, they're proposing this and this, are you okay with it? And they say, no, we want it the other way, then I'm certain we'll see that reflected in the DOT's comments back to us. At least they generally do that. Whether they do it every time, I can't say, but generally, they will speak with the LTA.
The DOT will side with the LTA?
They will get input from the LTA. Okay. They may or may not side with them. They may tell them, you're completely wrong, we're doing it this way.
Right.
But they will at least have that conversation with them.
So we have to get the LTA on board first?
I don't think it matters, because we're going to do whatever the DOT says. But the DOT will discuss it with them during the review process, so they'll get their input, whether they take it or not. So we can wait and go back and forth 17 more times, or we can get an approval, go to the DOT, and push the process along.
Greg, you were about to say something.
Yeah, my interpretation of the LTA's letter today was a lot of words and concerns, but the only thing that's solid in there is the one-way circulation in and out, which they're doing, so we have no issues with LTA.
Correct.
We're good.
We're doing it.
We're good. Let's go to DOT. Let them make these adjustments and submit to DOT, and resubmit, get the local approval, bring it to DOT. The one thing I could foresee with the one entrance and the one exit is they're going to narrow down those driveways even further. The 30-foot is a common two-way dimension.
Right.
It's usually 16 and 14.
What's it up at?
Not including the channelization, that might add another foot or something, but that's 30-foot is a typical 14 level smooth entrance, and the 16 is when you have a left turn lane, they like, it's kind of a second lane to get switched by and make the right without showing a second lane.
Now, talk to me a little bit about the queuing that blocks the fire department.
Again, that's you know, that's not an analysis thing, that's sort of a professional judgment and experience that when they, go ahead.
The entrance, someone trying to get into the station, blocking.
No, it's the firemen trying to get to the station to jump on the trucks, because if it's backed up.
And if you have someone trying to take a left-hand turn in here, that was a concern as well. That's why they want enter only from this side.
It makes it further away. Okay, what are we doing?
That was my question, what you just asked. It seemed to be a separate point they were making aside from
Great,
the fire station.
great. Let me see, did anybody in the general public want to speak to this application? Please. Sure, go right there. Why don't you move that thing down, because I can't see your eyeballs.
Is this working? Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Marks, and I live at 30 Sedgwick Avenue, which for the people who know how this map works, my house is right there.
There you go.
I am here to support this project. I'm a big fan of it. I'm not here to get in front of it and say there's any issues with it. I've been in town for 6 years now. I'm very impressed with sort of the investment the town has made, all the real estate that's coming up, all the business that's happening, all the infrastructure and commercial businesses that are happening in this town. It's fantastic. It's great for us young families that are moving in with kids, and you know, we're very happy with everything that's going on. With all of that said, I just would like to advocate, and you guys talked about this a little bit, especially the traffic piece, with the public safety infrastructure that needs to support all of the stuff that's happening. And what I mean by that, crosswalks, stop signs, signals, and everything else that goes around these types of projects as you're building them. I have young kids, we live in neighborhoods, Mansfield behind us. There's a lot of walking to town, there's a lot of driving, a lot of the stuff that you guys mentioned. We've been trying to get a sidewalk built on Sedgwick, because I don't know if you guys know this, but it stops at the bank and doesn't continue all the way to Mansfield for some unknown reason, even though there is just brush past my house and nothing else that could easily be a sidewalk. And so I'm not asking for you to attach that as a requirement to any of these projects, but I think that, for example, that intersection that you're discussing only has 3 crosswalks instead of 4 for an unknown reason. We had to email the town to get the one built on the opposite side of Sedgwick, which they built the next day. They couldn't do the one on Post Road because that's a county road, so they needed county approval to do that sort of thing. Furthermore, there's the
Point to it on there, I didn't know it was there.
There is no crosswalk this direction across Post Road. There's one over here, and there's one here. We had to email to get one built down here, which they built for us. Same thing's going to happen when that apartment building goes up down near Goodwives. There's going to be a lot more traffic. There's going to be a lot more people driving in and out of there. That traffic circle creates confusion. There are places to cross the street, but not crosswalks to cross the street. And so I say this to all of you guys as you think about these projects that are going to town, the giant building that's being built across from the sports shop now, everything else that's being built, which we're all very excited about, is that there seems to be infrastructure improvements and safety enhancements that needs to come with this stuff that hasn't, that it maybe is lacking. And so I just look at like my only piece of land, my plot of land there, which is like, we want a sidewalk up Sedgwick because there's gonna be lots of cars coming in and out of this gas station, which there is currently. Right now, people's option, and a lot of people do it, is they walk down the side of the road, and it's very dangerous. And so we don't want an accident. We don't want a pedestrian to be hit. You don't want your kids or you guys hitting someone in a car. Like, that's the type of stuff that I think needs to be factored in and built from this town when we do these types of projects. We have approval from the town. There's budget to build this sidewalk too. That's the other thing I'll say. And they just keep kind of dragging their feet on it. So, as well as the crosswalk that needs to get spray painted across Boston Post Road. So I just want to lay that all out there for you guys as someone who's very supportive of this project, very supportive of all the investments that are going to town. I think there needs to be a comprehensive review of infrastructure, as you guys were talking about, signals, lights. If I walk from my house all the way downtown, there's lots of like confusing signals, a lot of confusing pedestrian like signals of when you should cross. Cars driving around aren't very comfortable with like the idea that there are people walking around, and I think as more people, all these stores start to be built and you're building lots more traffic and people coming around, that needs to sort of be a consideration and something that needs to be thought. So thank you for your time. I just wanted to say that as the closest resident to this project, because I'm very excited about it, to walk down, get a Coke, whatever, but would love a sidewalk and some crosswalks and, you know, in the broader town and community too, to make this safer. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions? No? Cool.
Yeah, well, cool. Gentlemen, Mr. Warnock, what's happening? Good win last night.
Good.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. I'll be brief, and I'm glad to, you know, to hear that people are supportive of what's gone on in town, some of it. I'm not supportive of all of it. I'm certainly not supportive.
Can you state your name for the record,
Robert
please?
Warnock, and I've lived in town since 2003. So with respect to Corbin District or Heights, yeah, there was some stuff that needed to be upgraded. The town was getting old, it was getting stale. But look, some of it is, it's all coming online at once, and there was COVID and things got delayed. But as a resident of the town, it's like overwhelming. And we need time to digest what's been done. I'm supportive of some of it, not all of it. But to be honest with you and to be frank with you, you know, a convenience station in the middle of town, I don't see how that benefits the town at all. Now, you're using numbers about square footage. Well, what was there? You're talking about the garage. You're not putting back a garage. You're putting back a convenience store. It says it's going to close at 9 p.m. Oh, okay. What happens if he wants to change his hours? It's built. You've approved it. What if he wants to be 24/7? What's the recourse? I don't know. But, you know, some of these other stations don't really close down at 9 p.m. There's nothing that you need to get there that you can't get elsewhere in town, as opposed to more rental units, although I think we should put a moratorium on rentals. I think we have plenty of those in town, and maybe they should be sold. But the town was getting old, it was getting stale, it sat for a good long time, and a lot of it is good. But a convenience store in the middle of the town, and if a truck can make a left-hand turn leaving, then every car is going to do it. And you mentioned, Amy, some of the other things that come in. It's not just gas trucks. You know, it's all sorts of deliveries. But again, you guys dinged a 7-Eleven. I thought P&Z for a long time. Again, I don't know the ins and outs. I do remember that whoever was on P&Z was going to let Shake Shack walk over the size of the sign, like you guys held the line, and people were upset. People wanted Shake Shack. But I do wonder, with all respect to the P&Z, like what is the mission? I don't see how a convenience store in the middle of town, when we have two on Norotan Avenue, a gas station on Norotan Avenue, an Exxon station, a BP, how does that benefit the town? It's not a need. It's not lacking. Yeah, we needed some better retail. We needed some. The Corbin district was garbage. We need some new restaurants. But I don't think we need to be Midtown Manhattan either, with Sweet Greens and Naya and, you know, two Chipotles now. Three in town. So you know, again, I just for the betterment of the town, I think you should take a pause. You said there's some concerns in a letter that you guys all just got this afternoon. I mean, one of them you said is the fire department. Not a small deal, guys. Not a small deal. Okay? And there are other concerns. Like, if you guys just got the letter, you know, again, I'm sorry, but like saying we're going from 3,800 square feet to 3,200 square feet, the gentleman has a repair shop. It's not the same thing. Nobody goes there for that. You're not drawing traffic for that. So, you know, I'm sorry if, you know, the thing down on, you know, Exxon. Now look, I like a good convenience store as much as the next guy, but, you know, sometimes I'm up the Route 7 connector and there's nothing for 5 miles in either direction. And, you know, we're a very densely populated area. And in my opinion, the real problem in this town, and to nobody's fault, is the 2-lane section of the Post Road. Okay, and we shouldn't be importing or adding to the traffic there, whether it blocks the fire department or not. You know, I think if all of this new building was done down by Nielsen's or whatever, where you have 4-lane Post Road, I don't think people would have such strong feelings, but we're jamming traffic in between 95 and really where this convenience station ends. You have organic traffic that's just living here. you have directed traffic because of apps like Waze, and now we're importing traffic with office buildings and parking garages to support the imported traffic, and that's fine. Like, I don't really know the ins and outs of that, but again, think of 5 o'clock on a Friday night. If you live in this town, which I'm not so sure everybody involved in this lives in this town, and there's an accident on 95, you have the office building getting out of work, you have Waze directing everybody on the post road, why on earth do we need a convenience store there? And everyone's going to make a left. Sedgwick's already a disaster. I myself, had an incident there. It's not where the convenience store is, but just up the road on Mansfield. It's very, it's not much to back up to there. So to make that worse, you said the road went from an E to an F, or not that bad of an F. An F's an F. And, I'm sorry, guys, but, I would love a better gas station and maybe some stuff that's convenient to go in, but the scale and size that you're proposing, you can't tell me it's good for me as a resident of the town. There's nothing there that I can't get in 5 other places. If we're up the connector and there's nothing around, yeah, I'm an open-minded guy, or if it was down by Nielsen's, but, we're jamming in what's supposed to be our quaint, like, downtown, right? This is supposed to be the part of the town has all the charm. And respectfully, I think a convenience store is literally the worst thing you can put in there. So, thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Okay, anybody else want to speak to this application? Okay. Now, the question is, they're going to redo the site plan some way, shape, or form. So do we want to keep it open for the new site plan? And look at it and see if we want to hear back from the LTA. Because the last thing, where's Greg Del Rio? And Greg, in your letter, that's not your letter, it's Steve's letter. Where the heck is it? Oh, I gave it to you. No, you gave it back to me. The last response was you said, or Steve said, we'll get back to you after you get back to us on comment number 5. More detailed review of the analysis will be completed once comment 5 above is addressed. However, based on the analysis state, the applicant should investigate signal operations, blah, blah, blah. And then it talks about the truck and the coned off stuff. So then the response to that, which is September 16th, it said, any changes to 1 would be need to review to assess the impact of the other intersection, determine beneficial eastbound, westbound, bandwidth on Post Road. We have not undertaken this analysis. So did the applicant satisfy your question 5 or not? Or do you know?
Which part of it? Yes, they did. Which part of the question are you alluding to?
But your letter, the letter that Steve wrote on the 20th says, we'll get back to you after you respond to 5.
Right, which
right?
is...
And that's a month ago.
Which was right, which was all the technical, updates that they had to do to the modeling.
Right.
Which they did.
And then the last sentence says, we did not do this, we did not undertake that analysis.
Which is where do you...
The
is
very
that on the
last
next
sentence.
page? One, we have not undertaken such analysis.
So you asked them to do something and they didn't do it.
Any changes at one location will need to be reviewed to assess the impact to other intersections and determine if the change is beneficial to eastbound or westbound bandwidths along Route 1. Okay. So this is Scott's response to me. So this is Scott's
Right.
part.
So that's right. So that's that. So according to that letter, the ball's in your court.
Correct. And this one sentence here, I'm not remembering, is there any changes, when you go back to my comment, the applicant should investigate fine tuning, which they did, and that's what brought it back to an E. So, yeah, I'm seeing everything addressed as far as our comments go. Scott, you'll have to explain any changes at one location would need to be reviewed to assess the impact to other intersections. I'm not sure what that sentence is implying.
Yes, and we spoke about, at the last public hearing, we went through the comments from the November 20th, and we addressed them verbally on December 16th. We wrote a response to all the comments after discussions with the folks over at H&H. We had a conference call with me and a handful of the folks over there. We discussed these responses. Yes, if you move 5 seconds of time from Route 1 to Sedgwick Avenue, you can improve the level of service of the side street from E to F. However, the signal is in a signalized system. In order to properly do an analysis of a complete signalized system, you have to have traffic volume counts at all 22 of the intersections. And you have to analyze them all individually and create time-space diagrams and all that kind of stuff. That's about a $45,000 analysis. I did not do that.
Okay, is that what you were asking for?
In this response.
No. No, but what he's saying is, in order to implement those signal timing changes, because it is a coordinated system, that if and when you did that, you would, you should look at what it does to the surrounding adjacent intersections.
Okay, that hasn't been done.
So, ergo, does the reverse logic apply that when you increase traffic to a certain amount in just one block, you don't really understand the effects of how it reverberates up those same 22 intersections because you haven't done the analysis?
In the traffic impact analysis world, you look at traffic impacts based on the volume of traffic, and as it goes out from one intersection to another, when you get to a certain volume,
It's like a ripple.
we say that, the implications are de minimis because you're getting farther and farther out. Again, in this particular report, we analyzed a vacant site versus a full site as opposed to a currently approved site versus a full site. So the impacts which we identified were certainly smaller than the ones we presented in the report. So we believe, yes, we've analyzed the appropriate number of intersections. We provided the appropriate levels of service. If the DOT allows us to make a minor change in the signal timing at that location, we'll certainly recommend it. It's going to be the DOT's call. Again, as indicated previously by Greg, they like to take a wait and see. Let's look at it. Let's see how it operates. If there's difficulties, we'll go out and make some changes. They're constantly doing that in all their computerized systems and throughout the state. So can we mitigate it? We certainly can. If the DOT allows us to, we'll make the timing change. In fact, if I still had a key, I'd go in there and do it myself. But they've changed all the locks, so I can't go out into the field and do it myself these days. And there's probably some liability in that, so I probably shouldn't be doing it. But yeah, I mean, the DOT will be looking at it. And again, I think the impacts that we've mentioned in the report are going to be smaller than the impacts which we're going to see in real life based on the way we wrote the report. We always do a conservative analysis, relying on the commission to go, yes, they overestimated the traffic. Yes, they underestimated this. Yes, they did this, they did that. And the impacts are pretty minimal. So they're probably going to be less minimal than what they've said. And we believe that to be true.
Just to follow up on the beginning part in your direct question, DOT's guideline, for example, is 50 trips additional to trigger looking at an intersection. We don't have that, right? But I think it's 70 additional trips. I forget the number originally of what we're adding based, compared to the old station. And then just do the math. If it's 70, it's 35 making a left, 35 making a right. There you go. You're, on any one approach, you don't have more than, and that is.
That would trigger that.
Right, because we all know when I can go through the whole process and it's going to move it half a second.
Got it.
Yeah.
But the trip generation is doubling. It's the trip generation, say, from today to tomorrow is doubling.
Yeah.
Right, and it's already either, I don't know if it's an E or an F or whatever it is, but it's doubling. And the gallonage is going up 30%.
Okay.
Right, and the gas pumping is not even the driving factor. The convenience store is creates more traffic.
Right.
That's been said many times.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so.
Yeah, and again, for the public that was up here earlier, we don't just increment it for the extra pumps. It's a whole new land use. That takes into account the convenience store.
Correct.
Which generates a lot more than you dropping your car off and going to work and coming back at the end of the day and picking it up.
Correct. So what I would like to do is have Greg go to Legal Traffic Authority one more time.
Me too.
And then have them come back, because there's a new site plan.
because this is
in
happening,
and
and I
out.
don't know what,
Right.
yeah, agreed.
We do have an issue with timing.
Well, it's got an extension.
In terms of the commission closing the public hearing, the commission has until February 5th to close the public hearing.
Great.
The LTA is not meeting again within that time frame.
How do we know? I'll call Brent tomorrow and make him meet.
Special meeting scheduled.
I'll make him meet.
The LTA meets once a month as far as I understand.
I'll call him tomorrow. There's a change in the site plan that came today.
Why don't we continue the hearing to the 3rd, and whatever we get, we get.
We're gonna,
Yep.
and then
That's all we
close
can
on the
do.
3rd. That's all
We
you can do.
legally cannot do any more than that.
Okay,
Agreed, I
George?
agree.
That's your wish, fine.
No, not my wish. I mean,
I wouldn't, but go ahead, I won't stop you.
okay, Jamie?
I agree.
Okay.
We will need an extension from the applicant to continue the hearing to February 3rd.
That comes from Mike. Thank you, sir. All right, so Greg, your charge is to talk to the LPA. Because
Should
if
we
you two
reach
guys
out,
get on.
should we
if
reach
you-
out directly, or do you want to talk to him?
I can call him tomorrow. I can call him, doesn't matter, but you can call him directly. I mean, I would start with the woman who's in
Allison.
charge of it, Allison? Is that her name? Start with her, because if we can get you two guys on the same page, then that helps.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's, at the end of the day, these guys are looking for an approval. If it gets approved, it gets approved, you know. If it doesn't, you know, we gotta figure out what we're gonna do, or we can change it. You know, there's 4 pumps there now, you can go back to 4 pumps, you can make the building smaller, there's a lot of things you can do. But right now, there's too many open questions. Okay? So let's do that.
7 PM, February 3rd, room 206 at Town Hall.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right, we're going to close the public hearing. We're going to go back into the general meeting. The first item on the general meeting is Baywater Properties Corbin District Project 1100 Boston Post Road. Request to change the use of first floor of 1100 Boston Post Road. Looks like we have Mr. Genovese tonight. Do I have to say anything first, Fred?
Yeah?
Thank you. I have one.
Oh, what do you want to do about Weaver?
It's just a little bulky.
You want to ask him?
Thank you.
Yeah. Are the guys from Weaver here?
No, I don't think they're,
They split?
yeah.
No, one's here.
Yeah, I gave them a heads up that there would not be a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Where are you thinking?
Will this work if I plug
Do
this
you
in?
want to speak first? Tell us what's going on, or you want him to just go? Let it rip. You have a speech written? You want to do?
Yes.
I can give you a quick overview, sure.
Let him just give a quick overview.
Of course.
Go ahead.
So the applicant before you tonight, David Genovese of the Corbin District, is here to request some minor modifications to the applicant's previous approval relative to Building D, which is the building at the rear of the site, the office building on the upper floors, or was approved as office on upper floors. Mr. Genovese would like to amend the proposal to allow the portion, the first floor space of that building, which was originally approved for retail and personal service use, to be used by the office tenant that they've signed a lease with, Industrious, to lease 2,128 square feet of that first floor for their welcome area of the co-working space, as well as a small cafe area and meeting areas on that first level. in accordance with Section 733 of the zoning regulations, the commission may make a finding that financial service or business and professional office use is allowed via special permit, provided that the use is consistent with the standards under subsection 1005, subsection H of the regulations, which allows the commission to consider the presence or absence of off-street parking in direct proximity to the site, the character of surrounding uses, convenience of pedestrian access, location within the central business district, and directly related conditions regarding the policies of the town plan of conservation and development, and the preference for commercial sales and service uses on the first floor. As staff, we do support this. The first floor and building D is not in a highly visible location to be seen from Corbin Drive, the Boston Post Road, or the new internal circulation within the site, including Penny Way. So David is here to explain some of the details.
How do I turn the screen on?
Hit Zoom.
Tap control and start.
Now, she does have hard
The copies of it?
Everyone has a hard copy.
Okay.
Or they have it on the screen. This, they would do.
Yeah, so maybe I can't show it, I don't know. But I can talk you through it.
Should be connecting.
Okay. So thank you so much for having me. I'm David Genovese with Baywater Properties, the developer of the Corbin District. As Fred explained, we're asking to make a change in use, for approval to change the use from this space, the first floor of the building we're calling 10 Market Street. I'm looking at my screen. Maybe I'll just point it this way so you guys can see it, at the aerial photo that was taken a few months ago. That just shows kind of the buildings and where we are, or where we were a few weeks ago. And if you go to the page that follows, it's sort of a retail leasing plan entitled Leased Spaces. And that kind of shows you where this space is. It's at the back corner of the building, which in total is called 1100 Post Road, but it's the building that wraps the parking garage opposite the dairy and sports shop. So this space was a first floor space that, we, to be candid, knew was sort of a marginal retail space. As Fred pointed out, you can't see it from Corbin Drive, you can't see it from the Post Road. You can see it from the parking lot, the surface parking lot at the back of the site, but it's not in a great pedestrian area because there's also right here. It's actually not contiguous with the other retail spaces because the entrance and exit to the parking garage is adjacent to it. We had signed a lease with Stretch Lab for that space, who wasn't really reliant upon street traffic. It's more of a destination for personal service. But then Industrious approached us. We were going to lease these spaces to individual tenants, but Industrious, which is a co-working platform operating internationally now, approached us and actually expressed interest in taking the whole space and then creating a better customer experience by using the whole first floor as their entrance, a cafe, a couple casual seating areas, and I think there's actually an open meeting space. This drawing that I'm putting up here just shows like each of the retail spaces in that building. It's also adjacent to the dumpster, the trash enclosure, or the trash room for the project. You can see the lobby. It's that orange, irregular shaped area that wraps an elevator. That elevator serves only this particular area of the building. And the next page showed what the original layout for Stretch Lab was. So what we're proposing to do is to relocate Stretch Lab to the other side of One Market, the office building behind Corsica, also in a sort of visibly challenged area, but it's fine for Stretch Lab, and it's across from Barry's, which is good for them. The next page shows you the dimensions and the square footage of each of the floors of that building. Floor 1, it just says office, but that was done by our square foot, our BOMA calculator. guy who tells us how big these spaces are. And then you can see, which I also attached, kind of a design development package by Industrious that gives you sort of a sense of the look and feel of this place. Darien doesn't have a national or an international co-working facility, and I kind of joke around, I call Industrious WeWork for adults. It's pretty sophisticated presentation. There's no kegs of beer, for better or for worse.
Are they owned by CBRE?
They are owned by CBRE, and now they're international. So if you're a user of Industrious in Darien, you have access to all the facilities across the globe, which is a really neat and a nice feature. If you have a meeting in New York or LA, you're allowed to use the space. But it's a high design space. And on the last, second to last page, I think it is, yeah, second to last page, you can actually see the layout that's proposed. I think there's a cluster of 4 seats. There's one meeting space, one small office space, and then a cafe with some tables if people want to kind of get out of their office, which would be on the upper floors, and you know, have a coffee downstairs or grab a bite to eat. They have continuous snacks and a big coffee program and flavored water program. It's really nice. There's nothing like it in town. So that is the idea. It doesn't really add to the office usage because it's really a welcome center. It's sort of an adjunct thing. So we don't really see there being like a net increase in office occupancy from that. And they've agreed to a limit of 3 per 1,000 parking for the whole thing, just based on their knowledge and experience with these things elsewhere, which is consistent with our other tenants. And there are just a couple of other images of the look and feel of it.
So Fred, why do we have to see this?
Well, if you look at the first page, I think Fred cited the references from zoning, the zoning regulations.
First floor concept.
Yeah, you're trying to discourage office from first floor in like pedestrian, really high traffic areas where we're trying to create retail storefronts and make it more interesting. In a different way, Jeremy would remember, you actually put a prohibition on banks on the first floor of spaces and real estate offices, unless those spaces were challenged because of location. So, years ago, I think the Bankwell branch you approved because it was sort of a challenged location. There's no parking directly in front of it. That was approved. Compass you approved with us at the back of Corbin Drive. We would not have put Compass on the Post Road. Similarly, we wouldn't propose to put Industrious on the first floor on the Post Road. And, we're almost done leasing the whole Post Road, and it's, a very good mix of retail, mostly women's fashion retail in that building. The other tenants are almost all lined up. I think there's 2 spaces left in that building.
So they're taking, this is 2,000 feet on the ground floor they're taking?
Yeah, if you go to that page that has the 4 floor plates laid out, it tells you the square footage. So the first floor is 2,128 feet. The second floor is 3,474 feet. The third floor is the same. And then the 4th floor is a little smaller because we treated the roof differently, so we chewed up a little space.
One tenant's taking
They're taking all 4.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, the lease was subject to zoning, so we didn't sign a lease, assuming we would get this, but it's subject to zoning approval.
Any questions for David?
I'm fine
Seems
with
like
this.
we're doing a little bit the same thing with the heights. Okay. With that said, I would entertain a motion to approve this request to change. A makes a motion, looking for a second. Jay makes a second. All in favor?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, next item up for bid, I'm just going to read it in, we'll move it to the next one. Next item on the agenda is amendment of special permit number 15-H site plan, Weburn Country Club at 410 Hollow Tree Ridge Road, also known as PL 25-198, proposal to renovate the exterior terraces and patio areas. This project will be postponed, is that what we were saying? Yeah.
Postponed to a later date.
Post for a later date to be determined. Okay, everyone good with that?
Yep.
Next item on the agenda is Ox Ridge Riding and Racquet Club, 412 Middlesex Road. Informal discussion regarding potential padel facilities at the club. In our packet, we got an email from Phil Baker to Jeremy. Thank you for updating and speaking with the chairman. Oh, I guess you spoke to me, okay. informal discussion. It looks like we have Amy Zabatakis.
Yes.
To represent us. All righty.
Yes.
Do you want to give any introduction, or just let Amy let it rip? Amy, let it rip.
Yeah. All
right. Welcome.
Thank you. Amy Zabatakis, Rucci Law Group. I'm here on behalf of Oxford Riding and Racquet Club, which is actually at 512 Middlesex Road. I submitted a PowerPoint presentation that I'm not going to try to put up on the screen since I've seen what trouble we've already had, but I think you all have a copy of that just talks about what the idea is. Oxridge has been a club at 512 Middlesex since its founding in 1914. In 2017, this commission approved a major renovation of the facility, which allowed it to rebrand into the Oxridge Riding and Racquet Club. And the racket sport that was added at that time was squash. And that's been successful. Members are very excited about it. But Oxford is looking to make sure they can continue to offer its membership variety, because just frankly, there's just the one sport of squash is not really quite enough. So the idea is to add padel, which is not currently anywhere in Darien. It's a different racket sport. It's different than paddleball, pickleball, squash, racquetball, tennis. It is played on a slightly different court than what you see for the squash courts. It is played outdoors, but this proposal is for an indoor facility. And what we wanted to do was to come before the commission before we went through all of the work to prepare the special permit to kind of gauge your temperature on this idea, because it would require another expansion to the building. It would require, because of where we're thinking about siting this expansion, some changes to the parking and the traffic flow into the site. And we would also be looking for an increase in the number of the members. I do think the member number is a little interesting, because I think the member number we sort of looked at as family members when we set the 250 cap when the original application came in, and most of the members seem to be more individuals. So, again, assuming we get some positive feedback from you about going forward, obviously we would work with the traffic and parking consultants to explain, but we would be looking for an increase of membership to probably something like 450. But obviously we understand we'd have to explain that from a parking standpoint. Also, I think in all likelihood with the application, one of the things that we had in the 2017 approval that hasn't been utilized was the ability to have a number of large events on the site, and that's just not something that has been really desired by the membership. So that's a little bit of a trade-off where we wouldn't have those large, because especially where we're talking about putting this building would kind of take away that area where we were talking about having large tent events on the property. So that's sort of what we're thinking about. But like I said, wanted to bring this to you and just get a feel for the commission's temperature on moving forward in this way before we went into the whole project.
Okay. So what is, I'm not a Padel kind of guy. What is Padel?
So it is,
you want to build a new building? Is that what
it'll be a new building that'll have, we're looking at 6 to 8 new courts. So they are, I think there's a picture of the courts on, not, that page is showing where the building would go. One of the other pages, let's see if I can tell you which page it is, has a picture of what the courts would look like from the inside. The prior page to where you are, yeah. So mostly they're, most of the squash courts are single, so it's one person against one person, and you hit against the wall. Padel is a little bit more like the other racket sports with a net, and you play with 4 people. Okay. But it's a different playing surface than, say, pickle or paddle, and also obviously indoor. Pickle, I guess you can do both indoor and outdoor, but and padel, you can do outdoor, but this is a fully indoor facility, which is what's nice. Again, to have a racket sport like this that can be done year-round is something that the membership's really interested in, and a little more variety than simply having squash. And I think what Oxford has done so far is, they've got a good relationship with the town, with the high school squash program, so I think it's, Padel I don't think has, at this point, really gotten into the youth, but who knows? Could be. We could have the first Darien Padel team.
There you go, you'll be traveling to California, play Padel.
Exactly.
Darien Athletic Foundation will fund you. I mean, it fits in with the racket and riding, which is racket sport.
Yep.
Yep. I think this is a hugely growing segment. I think it's going to be highly subscribed. I think we want, if this is going to make a difference between Oxbridge Racket and Riding Club prospering or failing, I just think it's a great idea.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea.
Great.
I mean, provided we see
Of
parking and site plans and all of that. But
Of course.
in concept, I think it's well received.
You're going to have crossover members, right? People that play all three sports? Because right now you have paddle tennis, outdoor paddle tennis.
Yep.
Right, which you kind of sort of own, that's the tokenie thing.
With the tokenie club, yep.
Right, then you have the squash, and then you have this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there hasn't been as much overlap, I think, as was hoped between the riding and the racket sports, but for sure, the racket folks are the ones that are asking for a little more variety.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
George, any comments, sir?
All good.
Great to see it indoors.
There you go. All right. So with that said, I would
Okay,
forge forward.
we'll forge ahead and
Forge
look
ahead.
forward to presenting a full application to you.
Fantastic.
Thank
And
you very
How many
much.
acres do you have there?
32?
Well, you tell her, she can tell me.
21 acres, a portion of it, the paddock area is deeded to the Dairy and Land Trust. We have access to that, there's a paddock area for the horses, the sort of buildable.
Why don't you come up? Why don't you come up?
So, yes, so about 14 acres of buildable. The acreage, that there's a conservation easement over where the paddocks are, because that's a wetlands area, but that's compatible with the equestrian uses. And then there's, as you drive in, there's the riding rings and such on the left. So that's where we would need to change that entrance drive as you
Okay.
come in.
And what's the square footage of this building that you would make it about?
That's, that'll sort of to be determined once we.
20,000 feet, so
Yeah.
half an acre.
You know, again, it's sort of what can we fit in that area and work with the cover. But I think we're fine as far as, because we have all that area with the paddocks, and then we have the riding rings, which are all considered open, we're very low on coverage.
Great. Then you can only have so many people playing it, so you're not going to have like 100 cars on 6
Exactly.
courts.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. Sounds great.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Forge ahead. Next item on the agenda, is that the, okay, next item I did deliberations only on the following. Business site plan application number 313, special permit application number 344, also known as PL 25-120 Heights Corner LLC, which is 90, 100, and 188 Heights Road. Proposal to redevelop the property as a mixed-use residential, commercial, and perform related site development activities, including the construction of parking, public plaza areas, installation of landscaping, lighting, stormwater management. The applicant proposes to construct one 3-story mixed-use building with commercial space on the ground level and 21 and 2-bedroom dwellings on the upper floor. We reviewed this application, 4 times, 5 times? Something like that? And they got a written certifications, I'm not going to call them approvals, but they got reports from ARB, right? That were good. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a great addition to the Heights. Some people may have known I moved to that neighborhood, and so now I can walk there. I went to Bear Burger the other night for dinner. It was right across the street from the site. It's not in here, and we don't have to get too deep into the weeds now, but they're proposing to put an office business use on the ground floor, which we determined does not need a special permit. It got through ARB with a bunch of changes. We're going to have over 10,000 square feet of public plaza space on a site that is about 1.4 acres, 43 acres, I think is the total acreage of it. Some public, flagpoles, some public parks. The one thing that I don't want to do to the application, and I think Adam sent a note to Fred and I this morning. I don't really want to tie the applicant's hands with some of those things that the ARB recommended, and one being the boulders. I don't see any reason why you would put boulders on the site. I think they can decide what they want to do.
I think the applicant had no problem with that.
Yeah, if they want to do it, they can do it. I don't think it has to be a quote-unquote requirement. You know, they had some other things that were in there. And then the other item that they wanted, I think the ARB wanted to look at the bricks before they put them down or something like that, the herringbone bricks or something like that.
Traditionally, whatever gets submitted for a building permit gets reviewed by staff.
Okay. So that's going to stay the same way?
Staff is going to review them.
Okay. That it matches?
Whether you say staff to review or whether you don't,
You're going to look
staff
at
will
it.
review.
Right. That's what you do.
That's
I
how
hear
we
you.
earn our living.
Exactly. Because if it's not there, you got to look at it. They don't start building stuff anyway. So that's my 2 cents of it. Any comments first? George, you want to go first?
I am good with this. Just to say my piece, if I were writing the rules about public spaces, I wouldn't include the sidewalk that goes through the parking lot from the building over toward Palmer's, but that's just my little peccadillo. And the crosswalk, I think, is misplaced, but all good, no showstoppers. I think it's going to be a nice addition to the neighborhood.
Fantastic. Jamie, you want to go next?
I'm good. Agree with the boulders.
You like the boulders or don't?
No, I think there's no reason to have boulders.
Okay. They can do whatever they want. Okay. Amy?
I am fine. I'm no problem with removing the boulders. However, I do think we should have, as a condition of approval, the connection of the lines.
Connection.
I'm trying to find it right now.
The extension of the water line.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, there's two things in Bob Bush's, we gotta talk about those. One was the standpipe. They gotta have a standpipe. If Bob Bush wants a standpipe in the place, they gotta have a standpipe. And the water line thing, down the post road, Bob Bush and Fred Reeser, do you want to tell you what Bob Bush said it was? Since he said it to you? 340 feet?
I did have a conversation.
You need to go up, you want to go up there instead?
Sure.
This is the one, at the end of the last meeting,
Edgerton
the
to
architect
Heights.
came up and said, we don't want to do, I don't know if it was the architect who, but we don't want to do this, we don't want to do it. One was the standpipe, which was required by Bob Bush, and the second thing was
extending the
water line.
water main through Edgerton Street to tie into the Heights Road and West Avenue.
Right.
Yeah, that's correct.
Go ahead.
I did have a brief conversation with the fire marshal, Bob Bush, relative to the extension of the line, and Amy, as you note, the water line there's a need to extend the water line from the ingress, egress portion of the federal Realty development in a southerly direction down to Heights Road. It's roughly about 340 to 350 feet in length, and Fire Marshal Bush did reach out to Aquarian relative to potential costs for the construction of that line. One of the representatives from Aquarian did get back to Mr. Bush, indicating that it seemed to be in the range of about 250 to 300,000, I believe.
It was 400 to 450 a linear foot. Is what it was.
Who's quoting whom here?
Yeah, so if you
Let's
take...
do it, it was an email. Right. So it was 340.
I believe it was between 200,000 and 300,000.
While he's looking at that, does anybody know if the water that would be provided by the extension would serve the applicant's property?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, it was, the numbers were, it was 340 feet at $450 a foot, which is $150,000. That was from Aquarian.
That's a horse of a different color.
Right. That's the number, and the line is for redundancy. And I think Aquarian does it themselves, or they want, with the roads being dug up, they want it done at the same time. I don't know how it does, but according to what I was told, that when you pull a building permit, they're gonna look at it anyway if you got capacity. Is that right?
Yeah, they're gonna have to test for capacity.
Right, and that's building permit, that's not got nothing to do with us. All right, so is that a contingency that we need to put in, or is that end up happening anyway?
Well, we like to support our local officials, right?
Great, we don't want to go against the fire department or the police department, or the street department.
Yeah, so I'd include it.
Right, but like when we did, the only thing I can maybe assimilate to, when we did 7 Sedgwick, they went round and round and round about sewer capacity for that thing.
Yeah.
You know, and they found at the end they have like, sewer capacity for one less unit, or one more unit after the 2018 that's there. I don't think we had a contingency in that resolution.
No, they needed sewer service, for sure.
Right, and this is the same thing, if they need water service, and they need water pressure, someone's gonna do it anyway.
It was a specific recommendation from the fire marshal,
Right.
so I would be inclined to make a contingency for the approval.
Okay. We can put it in there and then.
Condition, yeah.
Figure it out, make sure we got our wording ready. Because it is an off-site improvement.
I understand.
And by law, you're not allowed to make them require off-site improvements.
But it's serving the applicant.
Serving their project, yeah. If you want to build the high-rise up on Mansfield, you got to run water through it, so, right? Okay.
The prospect was raised of Aquarian contributing as part of that project, as part of their system-wide improvements, but, could potentially be something to explore, but, we don't have an answer on that at this time.
Okay. So everyone's good, so the recommendation is to write it up as an approval, put it in. Adam, I did get a note from him, he was all good with it. He had no major issues to it either. And whatever we look at, once we get your approval, or once we get the draft letters, we can go over it again.
I had a thought, with this new 8,002 removal of hostile architecture, ARB specifically approved a bench. We don't want to make them put in a bench and then have to take it out and put it in a different bench. I mean, I don't know if this is for.
We can take a look at that.
I just,
Fred and I will drill down and take a look at that question.
Is it hostile?
What is it hostile mean?
We don't know what we don't know
If there's
about that,
I think
about that
separators and
statute right now.
is part of
If it has a rail.
Explosion
If
has a rail.
it has an arm.
An arm too?
If it has an
Okay.
arm, I think.
Oh, that's it, so
The
people
bench
can't
has an
sleep
arm.
on it.
Yes.
Oh, no kidding.
That's what it was.
I mean,
They have those in New York City.
I
It only fits
know
one
we
finger?
are hopefully going to get more guidance on what that whole new regulation means for us and our
Well,
decisions.
I bet you a nickel, a V20 of the cars put benches all along Heights Road that people sit in all the time. I bet you a nickel those benches, that the new bench is going to match the ones that are there now.
Yeah, and it would be convenient when you sit at a bench, you can put your arm somewhere.
The other issue, which as Fred and I draft the resolution, will be relative to the requirement for the affordable units, how the commission might get into that.
I would take the money. I would take the money.
I'm fine with that.
Put the money into the trust fund?
I'm fine with
Yeah.
Not personally.
No.
What'd you say?
I said, I'll take them.
You put it in my kid's trust fund that doesn't have one.
So,
We're talking
trust fund rather than building the required.
Correct, yeah.
three and a fraction units, I think.
Yeah.
At that scale, I have no problem with
Yeah,
taking the
that's
money.
scale. Right.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you. Good catch, Jeremy. All right, so we got that?
So, the commission will have the opportunity to further deliberate on the matter once
We see
we
the-
draft a
yep.
resolution for your consideration.
Yep.
Obviously, any additional changes from there on out prior to the adoption is fair game.
Okay. Can you, when you do that, do you mind just, like, remember when we did the green sheets a couple of times?
Yeah.
With the highlights in it, just put the green sheets in there, what all the other various parties asked for. The traffic people wanted this, ARB wanted that, the fire department wanted something. Everybody wanted something. I think we got them all.
Okay. Well, have something ready for one of your February meetings, either the 3rd or the 10th.
Okay, cool. Thank you. The next item is subdivision at 244A, Vander Ladder at
St. Paul.
Van Slander.
Van Slander, 769 Hollow Tree Road, request exception to file the Marlar or land records. We typically give these, how long they want? Marlar Gleason wants a few
Robert
months.
Gleason wanted 90 days, if I recall. which
Yep,
allowed us
within
to do
90
some
days.
on-site work.
Yeah.
You can imagine that the weather may not be.
Want to give them 6 months?
Sure.
Give them 6
We're
months?
looking for a 90-day extension
To
to
be able to-
June 3rd, which would allow them to install the new septic system serving the existing house, abandon the existing septic system, and remove the barn. Those three things need to occur prior to.
Give them
the filing
6 months.
of the minor.
Give them
I
6
think
months.
that might not happen in
Yeah.
90 days, yeah.
I'm putting in dormers, and it's been started in July.
You don't have their contractor.
I got
yet,
nothing.
And I know who their contractor is.
Ugh.
He's awesome.
My guy.
Just saying.
Just saying. Give them 6 months, please. Thank you.
Unanimous?
Yes.
Yep.
Great.
So we didn't close any hearings tonight, so we can't do that. Chairman's report, I want to pass on the chairman's report. Director's report, anything OPC today?
OPC, I covered basically 2 topics, the plan of conservation and development, which you can see is coming along. The goal, had a lot of conversations with Neil, and we're aiming to have a final draft of that document April 30th, so you're going to see things moving at a faster
Yep,
pace. You're going to
yep.
see more of Neil and more chapters to review every couple weeks. The other thing I mentioned to OPC is HB 8002, which we've all talked about, is we're likely to start working on zoning regulation amendments and proposals and things like that. And working on finding out more about some of these details. What do certain things mean like hostile architecture, which is a new phrase. Just like summary review. These phrases never existed.
I love jumbo shrimp.
Yep.
As to the POCD, a working session, you're going to schedule one?
You mean
One where we help guide what the plan will say? Didn't we?
We
Steve?
talked about that last.
I
George
think we-
mentioned it 6 times last time.
Yeah.
We're going to have a working session with Neil because he wants,
I don't know what the plan is yet, except for, we're seeing a lot of
Yep.
factoids, but I don't know what it is we're supposed to be saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know when that would make sense, the most sense.
I think what they're going to start with, they're aiming for the February 10th meeting, working with Greg Del Rio to get some comments, ideas on traffic, parking, transportation will be the next subject covered. So maybe we can do it the month after that.
You've got an April 30 deadline, however that works.
I would do, you got to do it before.
You don't seem familiar with what we're talking about.
I do not understand what the request is.
Okay, sorry.
No, we
But-
talked about it last meeting.
We did, yeah.
I'm sure you.
I was bold enough to simply ask Neil, what is the plan?
Correct.
And on that note, he said, well, I guess we ought to discuss that.
Yeah.
I
No. Were you maybe you weren't there.
Partially, maybe, a review of the meetings that he had with the various groups and boards and commissions and interest groups, which we hit on a bit tonight, of course, right? I mean, what was raised in those meetings was important to you in terms of including in the plan and moving forward with certain recommendations.
There are a lot of recommendations still left to get
Yeah.
there. It's going to be time consuming to do it.
Well, and
And there are certain nuggets in there that are like, oh, yeah, that's a good one, you know?
Well, yeah, but, and at the same time, if an RTM committee wants to do something, I doubt we're going to pull that out of the plan and say, no, don't do that. I mean, at least as part of a plan, put it in there, consider it, do it, whatever you want. I don't see us nitpicking all of those recommendations.
I saw some of them as possibly too specific, that they could be broader
Correct.
goals to like look at a certain subject rather than necessarily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I mean, I think it does need
There
to narrow down a little, you know.
Clearly has to be some editing. Some of it has already been accomplished, and,
that's
some
true.
of it is moot, whatever else. But, well, anyway, I don't know, I just, I've had this notion or two about how I might like to see some zoning regulations revised. And I don't think I've had that conversation with Neil. And I don't think we haven't really had that
collectively
conversation
discussed it, yeah.
or talked to him about it. So I'm looking for that opportunity.
Makes sense.
When can we factor something like that in?
I'll talk to Neil about input and feedback from the commission. I guess
It's really us spitballing to him.
Yeah.
It's us
When
telling-
does he think there's enough, point in time where we've heard about the inputs today from the various commissions that he's talked about. We've heard a summary review of what the residents feel. We've gotten introductions to, what the plan is, where Darien is today. But the meat, we're about to jump into the meat of, hey, these are now what we think is going to be the recommendations for what should go in there. And at some point, we need to hear his thoughts and then have a working session to be like, we digested your thoughts and now, we feel this is good, this is missing, how do we steer this one and land the plane to make sure we've got good support for the future decision-making on this topic, this seems light, that seems, that kind of.
Well said, yeah, that's exactly right.
And I don't know where that is in his timeline, but I'm guessing
I'll talk to Neil.
end
It'll
of
be
February,
February.
March-ish.
Because he spent a ton of time talking to everybody else.
Yep.
Well, we'll try to get an outline of talking points for the commission maybe, which Neil and I said is, you just can't come in here, hey, what's on your mind? How about zoning? Building height, building coverage, residential zones, commercial zones. Maybe we can give you an outline to work from, concepts, ideas. We talked a little bit about that before the meeting with them today in terms of, hey, they were asking us, hey, this concept, we see it in Darien, how's it working? How could it work better?
Because
So-
there is a lot of, Darien has made a lot of change, and, hearing what the ARB's thoughts were, is that, how do we feel about that? What are the levers that we could use to picture the future change of Darien, where we want it to go, where we don't want it to go? What are the levers that we can use to help guide that? And I think it's a good time to.
When towns do rezoning, they rezone areas, so they could change the whole town from 3 stories to 5 stories and pick a spot. In our town, if that was something that.
You made a comment earlier, but you do things once, 333 West.
Yeah, we did all these things in our town
And then-
once. It's never been done again. I
And
don't
that
get it.
would have been, I hear as a real estate agent all the time, we need more of that product.
Yeah.
Okay, are we going to try to zone for that?
Great.
330 West is which?
But the other,
Duplex cluster home.
On West?
that's part of the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The one thing.
Now I was thinking later.
The one thing that I want to be cautioned of, and it's coming down the road, is form-based zoning. Because I read New Canaan's, and I basically kind of sort of got lost, and I'm pretty good at it. I read Bridgeport and Norwalk's and Portchester in New York, and they're form-based, and I can't make heads or tails.
What do you mean by form-based?
It's a buzzword that some, like a tie and bond or one of those, if you go to the website, it takes you to somebody else's website. And that's where it is, and it's form-based where it's a whole bunch of pictures and it's not a category. You know how I called Fred's chart that's in the back? That doesn't exist.
If you think of, say, Wall Street in Norwalk, is, okay, we want the buildings to be this far from the sidewalk, this high. It can't be this high or this high, you have to be this high. And we're not so concerned about the uses, we're more concerned about the form, residential zones. You have to have a sloped roof. You can't be more than 3 stories. You can't have a parking space in front of the building. It needs to be New England style. They don't, and so from the commercial standpoint, where in Darien, we're very focused on, we don't want, I'll call it, lawnmower repair guy in the middle of downtown. Or automobile sales in the middle of downtown. We're more concerned about
activity-based, like
but they're
usage-based.
overly concerned, so concerned on residential, that it in many ways, it will hamstring an architect because they say, oh, this doesn't work. So Norwalk has had to back off a couple of things that were included because of inconsistencies, ambiguousness. It's been very difficult for someone from the general public. I want to put an addition on my house. What can I do? So it makes it more complex for the average home.
The sort of thing that might come with a village district.
Right. Right.
Which might make sense in this square block.
Yeah. Well,
You know, because it is a, or deem it historic buildings and, or,
The only problem with that, and we're getting off topic, but it's on the insurance report, those people that are in the historic district, like on that one street is, her maiden name's Kathy Healy.
Prospect?
Yeah. If you said, oh, you can't renovate your house because you're in the village district and you got to do this, this, and this, you just, your buyer, seller, owner just lost everything to 10 ladies or 10 people on our district review board.
I didn't want to pipe up, but when we were having that discussion earlier tonight, I recall very well one of my first meetings 5 years ago included a presentation about the village district or a historical district, I forget what, but it was Prospect.
Yeah.
And we never heard anything from them again.
Yeah.
Which didn't have anything to do with us, I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe we pushed back a little bit.
Because there's a house on Prospect that is contemporary.
Yes.
Right in the
Okay.
road.
Yes.
And people freaked out. Oh, we're gonna stop this.
I'm thinking of using it more for our downtown.
Well, that ship is, well, yeah, okay, yeah.
Because you're worried about I'm worried about the side of the street that's on the other side of the railroad
The
bridge.
east side.
That goes to Sedgwick.
Right.
Because we already have one building just sold for $1.5 million, which is Aquarius building.
It's sold already.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's sold.
That's why they're doing the work.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Who bought it?
and that, again, Eric Summon, it sold for $175 a foot. It sold relatively cheap.
We're on the
It's-
record.
Yeah.
It's so tired, it's public record.
Okay, good.
But if you look at that building, it's the only single-story building, and everyone around is 2 or 3. So.
Yeah, that's
some of the-
exactly
both
what
of those-
concerns me. I don't want a 3-story building.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
So those are the things we got to look at, but my point being is, I want to make sure in the next 10 years, I know I'm not going to be here in the next 10 years, but if form-based zoning comes down the pike, we have to be able to plan for that, and something like that should be in some kind of plan of conservation development, and I don't know how you work it in, but I know, like Bridgeport and Portchester spent $1 million to come up with this thing, threw it in the garbage.
Yeah, we better not do that.
Yeah, that's a colossal waste of money, but thank you. Approve our minutes. Can we punt that to the next time? Yeah. Upcoming meeting is January 27th, which is a week from today, and then February 3rd, which is a week after the week from
I
today.
might have a conflict for next Tuesday.
So you want to tell Amy any special on the agenda?
We have 5 public hearings. I think that's pretty much it.
Anything that George would need to recuse?
Some of the addresses are 30 Plymouth, potentially 65 Hecker. I can't.
I don't think there, unless Amy's involved, there shouldn't be any concern.
Are you still a
Or we
member
were-
of the firm?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I'm counsel to the firm.
Okay.
10 Holly Lane, swimming pool in the backyard. 45 Old Farm Road, regrading permit. 27 Kentucky Island Road, pool. 30 Plymouth, garage addition and pool.
Still residential, no residential stuff.
But we'll assume Madam will be back.
Yeah.
And
And-
let us know. That's it.
Yeah.
And with regards to the Mike Netter, I know he resigned. I don't know if it was ever contacted, but we just have to look for another member. And it's actually, it's the Planning and Zoning Commission's right to appoint somebody, but you get the recommendation from whatever party the person left. So if anyone's got any great ideas that has either an independent or Republican you think would be great on the Planning and Zoning Commission,
I know a lot of quality Democrats.
there probably are.
I know.
Right? All right, that's it. With that said, entertain a motion to adjourn. Jane makes a motion, just get a hold of her pen. Amy makes a second, hold in favor. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, TV 79.